rate is over 90% in Tripura, where it faced monumental anti-incumbency views. Monumental. Let's look at the other point. BJP even holds ground in Nagaland, manages to inject MLAs from friendly parties, and just before that, in Tripura, BJP is, in spite of anti-incumbency, withstood the challenge from the newly founded Tripura Motha party of Pradyot Dev Burman. So even that has happened. And in Nagaland, manages to inject MLAs from friendly parties, LJP, Mr. Paswan's LJP, and also RPI Athavale, strategically squeezes out the Congress. That's been the beauty of this. In Meghalaya, let's go to the next one. In Meghalaya, the BJP has expanded beyond Shillong.
Absolutely. From a Shillong-centric party, if you look at the places where it's runner-up, it's about 7 or 8 seats, and they're across the state. Many of them in the Garo Hills.
There it is. The Prime Minister standing up, almost on cue, taking in the plaudits. Now he's obviously being given that huge big garland. And there's Mr. Nadda on one side, and of course the able strategist, the Chanakya of our times, Amit Shah, on the right. Now BJP has won only 3 seats, but has come second in a sizable 7 to 8 seats. We'll just stick with me and Jay right now for a few moments. BJP has also very importantly retained its vote share in Meghalaya. So this is very, very important. BJP's vote share has gone from 1.5% in Tripura to 38.9% in just 10 years. Look at the growth. 1.5 to 38.9. BJP's vote share has gone from 1.3 to 9.3% in Meghalaya in 10 years. Note this down, viewers. These are important facts. Look at the growth of the party. In Nagaland, BJP's vote share has gone from 1.8 to 18.8% in 10 years. Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo message hasn't galvanized the Congress. In Meghalaya, Congress is down from 21 to 5 seats in 5 years. Congress's vote share has crashed from 34.8% to 13.17% in 10 years. This is a huge, unfortunately, I don't like to use these words, but an evisceration really of the Congress. Violent words,
absolutely.
But how else to describe
I'm getting a very engineering sort of definition for Congress's Bharat Jodo Yatra, and I think it is correct. The Bharat Jodo Yatra was a very technical implementation of an academic idea. I mean, what was broken that needed to be fixed? Nobody knows. But yes, there was an academic idea and it was a technical implementation.
And it hasn't struck a chord. People are not lining up for the Congress to endorse that message.
Forget the people. It has even failed to revitalize the party. The whole debate starts there.
Well, obviously, that can only happen when there are deep reforms. Let's just continue with this. In Nagaland, Congress has gone from king to zero in just 15 years. Congress's vote share has dipped from 25% to 3.5% in 10 years, viewers. It is staring at ignominy, an exit from the state. Satraps have quit the Congress to prosper. Pradyot Devaram's Tripura Motha party has outstripped its parent Congress, bagging 13 seats. Congress vote share has sunk from 8.5% to 8.5% from 36.5%.
Absolutely,
since the last 10 years. In the last 10 years. It's again...
No, and this is a former state president of the Congress. Stays there for 3 months and say, you know what, I don't think things are working right. Let me try out a startup on my own. And he succeeds in 3 years.
A startup in 3 years outside of the Congress. And this is, you were mentioning this point earlier. Satraps have quit the Congress in 96 when the Tamil Manila Congress, with Chidambaram, etc. When that walked out, Mamta exited in 1998, Sangma and Pawar in 1999, YSRCP in 2014, and mind you, where are all these leaders? They're doing fantastically well out of the Congress ecosystem. Former Congress Satrap is now the Chief Minister of Tripura in BJP. So
and the Chief Minister of Assam as well.
So why do all these people do so well outside of the Congress and not within the Congress?
Absolutely. See, that is the question. Is the Congress able to provide that soft infrastructure for growth to nourish its own human resource? And ironically, the biggest evidence of its failure is that when the same human resource is planted or even I would say grafted elsewhere, like grafting a leaf, it seems to blossom. So that is the real question for the Congress party today.
That is the big question, and that question, viewers, is obviously up for discussion. But let's just cut across once to the BJP headquarters. JP Nadda addressing the gathering there. Let's just listen in very quickly.
आप सबकी ओर से उनका हार्दिक अभिनंदन और स्वागत करता हूं। मित्रों, जो आज आप जीत दोबारा दर्ज करा रहे हैं त्रिपुरा में, नागालैंड में अपने आप को स्थापित करते हुए आगे बढ़ रहे हैं, यह कोई अनायास ही नहीं हुआ है। प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने एक लंबी सोच लेकर, एक दूरदृष्टि लेकर, एक संकल्प लेकर भारत की राजनीति में और राजनेताओं के द्वारा जिस नॉर्थ ईस्ट का उपेक्षा की जा रही थी, उसको मुख्य धारा में लाने का काम और नीतिगत निर्णय लेते हुए नॉर्थ ईस्ट को आगे बढ़ाने का काम आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने किया। इस कारण से हमको ये सफलता मिली है। आप सबको याद होगा, कि प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा था कि अगर देश के अन्य इलाके विकास कर सकते हैं, अगर देश के अन्य इलाके मुख्य धारा में आकर के आगे बढ़ सकते हैं, तो हमारा नॉर्थ ईस्ट क्यों नहीं विकास कर सकता। और इस बात को लेकर के, संकल्प लेकर के नॉर्थ ईस्ट को आगे बढ़ाने का काम किया है। आज आपको जानकर के खुशी होगी कि प्रधानमंत्री जी ने लुक ईस्ट पॉलिसी, पूर्व की ओर देखो, पूर्वोत्तर की ओर देखो और पूर्वोत्तर को आगे बढ़ाने का काम करे, इस नीति को लेकर के प्रधानमंत्री जी चले। और आपको जानकर के यह भी खुशी होगी कि भारत के पहले प्रधानमंत्री हैं मोदी जी, जिन्होंने नॉर्थ ईस्ट में 50 बार से ज्यादा नॉर्थ ईस्ट का भ्रमण किया और नॉर्थ ईस्ट को मुख्य धारा में लेकर के आया। पहले प्रधानमंत्री हैं जिन्होंने नॉर्थ ईस्ट के लिए एक लक्ष्य तय किया और नॉर्थ ईस्ट पूर्वोत्तर राज्यों को मुख्य धारा में लाने के लिए अष्टलक्ष्मी की बात कहते हुए सारे नॉर्थ ईस्ट के स्टेट्स का विकास करने की बात आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने करी। और इसके साथ साथ प्रधानमंत्री जी ने अष्ट लक्ष्मी के साथ साथ अष्ट आधार भी दिए और उसका मंत्र भी हम सबको दिया। क्या मंत्र था? कि नॉर्थ ईस्ट में शांति होनी चाहिए, नॉर्थ ईस्ट में पावर की बहुत बड़ी गुंजाइश है, इसलिए एनर्जी का काम होना चाहिए, नॉर्थ ईस्ट में नेचुरल फार्मिंग होनी चाहिए, नॉर्थ ईस्ट को 5G से कनेक्ट करना चाहिए, नॉर्थ ईस्ट को खेल कूद में बढ़ावा देना चाहिए और नॉर्थ ईस्ट को जो उसकी पोटेंशियल है उसको पूरा का पूरा आगे बढ़ाना चाहिए। ये 8 मंत्र लेकर के प्रधानमंत्री जी ने अष्टलक्ष्मी को संवारने का काम किया, आगे बढ़ाने का काम किया। आपको जानकर के खुशी होगी कि हम चुनाव के नतीजों के बाद त्रिपुरा में दोबारा सरकार बना रहे हैं प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के नेतृत्व के कारण। आज असम में हमने दोबारा सरकार बनाई, अरुणाचल प्रदेश में हम सरकार में हैं, मणिपुर में हमने दोबारा सरकार बनाई और इसी तरीके से आगे चल करके हम नागालैंड में सरकार अभी बना रहे हैं और आगे भी हम इन चुनाव के माध्यम से भारतीय जनता पार्टी को मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में और मजबूत करके आगे बढ़ेंगे। इस बात का हम संकल्प लेते हैं। मैं एक बात और बताना चाहता हूं, जब प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी 2014 में प्रधानमंत्री बने, उस समय पूर्वोत्तर कैसा पूर्वोत्तर था? पूर्वोत्तर जाना जाता था बंद के लिए, ब्लॉकेड के लिए, इंसर्जेंसी के लिए, आतंकवाद के लिए, टारगेटेड किलिंग के लिए, तय करके किसी को किलिंग करना। अबडक्शन कर लेना, अपहरण कर लेना, इसके लिए नॉर्थ ईस्ट जाना जाता था। दिनों नहीं ब्लॉकेड लगते थे, महीनों ब्लॉकेड लगते थे, सारा काम रुक जाता था। लेकिन प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के नेतृत्व ने नॉर्थ ईस्ट की तस्वीर और तकदीर बदल डाली। आज नॉर्थ ईस्ट शांति के लिए जाना जाता है। आज नॉर्थ ईस्ट स्थिरता के लिए जाना जाता है। आज नॉर्थ ईस्ट सद्भाव के लिए जाना जाता है। आज नॉर्थ ईस्ट, वहां इंसर्जेंसी नाम की चीज समाप्त हो गई प्राय, और उसी तरीके से वार्तालाप के द्वारा प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जितने भी इस तरीके के ग्रुप्स थे उनसे वार्तालाप करते हुए नॉर्थ ईस्ट में शांति लाने का काम और स्थिरता लाने का काम आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने किया है। मैं यहां यह भी बताना चाहता हूं कि कांग्रेस पार्टी ने नॉर्थ ईस्ट को एटीएम समझ रखा था, एटीएम समझ रखा था। पैसे कमाओ, भ्रष्टाचार होने दो, वहां के लोगों का जो होता है सो हो, लेकिन भ्रष्टाचार मुक्त, शांति युक्त, विकास युक्त नॉर्थ ईस्ट को सरकारें दी तो प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के नेतृत्व के कारण मिला है। इस बात को भी हमको समझना होगा। मैं यहां यह भी आपको बताना चाहता हूं कि आज जहां शांति आई वहीं विकास के नए आयाम भी लिखे गए, और इसके लिए प्रधानमंत्री जी ने मंत्र क्या दिया? मंत्र दिया हीरा। हाईवे, इंटरनेट, रेलवेज और एयरवेज, यानी एयरपोर्ट का विकास हो, कनेक्टिविटी आए। आज नॉर्थ ईस्ट के किसी भी कैपिटल में जाने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं होती। हम कुछ घंटों में दिल्ली से उड़कर वहां पहुंच सकते हैं। यह परिस्थिति आकर के खड़ी हुई है। आपको जानकर के खुशी होगी कि नागालैंड में 100 साल के बाद दूसरा रेलवे स्टेशन शौखोवी बना, तो वह भी प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में बना। हजारों करोड़ रुपए खर्च हुए और उस विकास की दृष्टि से सड़कों का जाल बिछा। आज नेशनल हाईवे, 4 वे, 6 वे लेन, इस तरीके की योजनाएं चल रही हैं। अगरतला से लेकर के कलकत्ता तक यह सड़कों का जाल बिछा करके जो 36 घंटे लगते थे वो 16 घंटे में पूरा करने का संकल्प लिया तो प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने लिया। इसलिए विकास की नई योजनाएं बना करके चले, और आज जो हमको नतीजे देखने को मिल रहे हैं ये प्रधानमंत्री जी की दूरदृष्टि, लगन, कर्मठ तरीके से उन चीजों को नीचे धरती पर उतारना, गांव, गरीब, वंचित, पीड़ित, शोषित, दलित, इनको मजबूती देना, प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना के तहत ताकत देना, प्रधानमंत्री गरीब कल्याण अन्न योजना के का ताकत देना, ताकि कोई गरीब भूखा न सोए, इसकी व्यवस्था करना। हर दृष्टि से एक कोशिश हुई है हमारे स्वच्छता अभियान के तरीके से हर स्टेट में महिलाओं को, उनको इज्जत घर देना और उनको इज्जत देना, यह काम मोदी जी ने संकल्प के रूप में लिया है। और यही कारण है कि आज यह परिवर्तन हमको देखने को मिलता है। मैं यहां यह भी कहना चाहूंगा, आज कांग्रेस का क्या हाल हो गया, कहीं देखने को नहीं मिलती है। लेकिन अभी भी रस्सी जल गई है, बल नहीं गया है। ऐंठन चली गई, ऐंठन अभी भी बरकरार है, जमीन खिसक गई है, और अभी भी सुबुद्धि नाम की चीज दूर दूर तक उनके नजदीक नहीं आई है। और देखिए किस तरीके की भाषा आज कांग्रेस पार्टी इस्तेमाल कर रही है, किस तरीके की असभ्य भाषा में उतर आए हैं, किस तरीके से प्रधानमंत्री जी के बारे में टिप्पणी कर रहे हैं, किस तरीके से राजनीति की हर सीमाओं को लांघ करके वो अपना छोटापन और ओछापन दिखा रहे हैं। लेकिन प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में आप सब लोग मिलकर हर जगह कमल ही कमल खिला रहे हैं, कमल ही कमल खिला रहे हैं। आपके नारे, ये मोदी जी के प्रति आपका प्यार, ये दुनिया में संदेश दे रहा है कि तुम अपनी भाषा से कितने भी नीचे चले जाओ, भारत मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में आगे ही बढ़ने वाला है और तीव्र गति से चलने वाला है। मैं आपके और हमारे यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के बीच में ज्यादा देर न रहता हुआ, मैं आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी से निवेदन करूंगा कि वो हम सबका मार्गदर्शन करें और उनको विश्वास दिलाऊंगा कि हम उनके रास्ते पर चलेंगे। आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री,
भारत माता की, भारत माता की, भारत माता की। सबसे पहले मेरी आप सबको एक प्रार्थना है। नॉर्थ ईस्ट के हमारे सभी भाइयों बहनों के सम्मान में, नॉर्थ ईस्ट के हमारे सभी नागरिकों के सम्मान में आप अपना मोबाइल फोन निकाल करके फ्लैश लाइट चालू कीजिए और नॉर्थ ईस्ट के सभी नागरिकों का अभिनंदन कीजिए। जिन जिन के पास मोबाइल है अपनी फ्लैश चला करके, ये नॉर्थ ईस्ट के नागरिकों का सम्मान है, ये नॉर्थ ईस्ट के देशभक्ति का सम्मान है, ये नॉर्थ ईस्ट का प्रगति के रास्ते पर जाने का सम्मान है। ये नॉर्थ ईस्ट के लोगों के सम्मान में आपने जो ये मोबाइल फोन के माध्यम से प्रकाश फैलाया है, ये प्रकाश उनके सम्मान में है, उनके गौरव में है। आपका मैं धन्यवाद करता हूं। साथियों, बीते वर्षों में भाजपा मुख्यालय ऐसे अनेक अवसरों का साक्षी बना है। आज हमारे लिए जनता जनार्दन को विनम्रता से नमन करने का एक और अवसर आया है। मैं त्रिपुरा, मेघालय और नागालैंड की जनता का सर झुकाकर वंदन करता हूं, उन सबका आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। इन राज्यों की जनता ने बीजेपी और हमारे साथी सहयोगियों को भरपूर आशीर्वाद दिया है। मैं आज त्रिपुरा, नागालैंड और मेघालय के बीजेपी कार्यकर्ताओं को भी बहुत बधाई देता हूं। दिल्ली में या हमारे अन्य इलाकों में बीजेपी का काम करना उतना कठिन नहीं है जितना नॉर्थ ईस्ट में है। वहां का कार्यकर्ता हमसे अनेक गुना मेहनत करता है और इसलिए वहां के कार्यकर्ता विशेष रूप से अभिनंदन के अधिकारी हैं। आज के नतीजे आप सभी भाजपा कार्यकर्ताओं की मेहनत का परिणाम है। साथियों, आज के चुनाव और इन चुनाव परिणामों में देश के लिए, दुनिया के लिए बहुत सारे संदेश हैं। आज के नतीजे ये दिखाते हैं कि भारत में लोकतंत्र और लोकतांत्रिक व्यवस्थाओं पर कितनी आस्था है, एक मजबूत आशावाद है। लोकतंत्र की राह पर चलते हुए हर शंका आशंका का समाधान हो सकता है, बदलाव लाया जा सकता है। एक समय था जब नॉर्थ ईस्ट में चुनाव होते थे, नतीजे आते थे, तो दिल्ली में और देश के अन्य हिस्सों में उतनी चर्चा ही नहीं होती थी। जो चर्चा होती भी थी तो वो चुनावी हिंसा की होती थी, बम, बंदूक और ब्लॉकेड की चर्चा होती थी। त्रिपुरा में तो हाल ये था कि पहले एक पार्टी के अलावा किसी दूसरी पार्टी का झंडा तक नहीं लगाया जा सकता था, और अगर किसी ने लगाने की कोशिश की तो उसको लहूलुहान कर दिया जाता था। इस बार इन चुनावों में हमने कितना बड़ा परिवर्तन देखा है। भाजपा ने नॉर्थ ईस्ट की राजनीति की दिशा ही नहीं, उसकी दशा ही नहीं, लेकिन एक आत्मविश्वास से भरा हुआ और नई दिशा पर चल पड़ा हुआ नॉर्थ ईस्ट हम देख रहे हैं। आज सुबह से मैं जब टीवी देख पाया, इन चुनावों के नतीजे ही छाए रहे। ये सिर्फ दिलों की दूरी समाप्त होने का ही नहीं, बल्कि ये नई सोच का प्रतिबिंब है। अब नॉर्थ ईस्ट न दिल्ली से दूर है और न ही दिल से दूर है। ये युग परिवर्तन का समय है, ये नया इतिहास रचे जाने का समय है। मैं नॉर्थ ईस्ट की शांति, समृद्धि और विकास का ये समय देख रहा हूं। मुझे याद है कि कुछ दिनों पहले जब मैं नॉर्थ ईस्ट गया था तो किसी ने मुझे बोला कि मोदी जी, आपको अपनी हाफ सेंचुरी के लिए बहुत बहुत बधाई। तो मैंने उनको पूछा कि भाई ये कैसी हाफ सेंचुरी आप बता रहे हैं? तब उन्होंने मुझे बताया कि जब से बोले आप प्रधानमंत्री बने हैं, आप 50 से भी ज्यादा बार नॉर्थ ईस्ट का विजिट कर चुके हैं, जो अभी नड्डा जी बता रहे थे। साथियों, सवाल बधाई का नहीं है, लेकिन जब एक नागरिक मुझे ये कह रहा था तब मैं अनुभव कर रहा था कि जाने मात्र से इसके दिल को कितना सुकून मिला है। नॉर्थ ईस्ट के राज्यों के दिलों में कितना प्यार उमड़ करके आया है, उसकी वो अभिव्यक्ति थी। और तब मुझे लगता था कि मेहनत कभी न कभी तो रंग लाती है। चुनाव जीतने से भी ज्यादा मुझे इस बात का संतोष है कि प्रधानमंत्री के कार्यकाल में बार बार नॉर्थ ईस्ट जाकर के मैंने उनके दिलों को जीता है, और वो मेरे लिए सबसे बड़ी जीत है। मुझे ये संतोष भी हुआ कि पूर्वोत्तर के लोगों को ये एहसास हो रहा है कि अब उनकी उपेक्षा नहीं होती। केंद्र की भाजपा सरकार में नॉर्थ ईस्ट के राज्यों को भी उतना ही महत्व मिलता है। साथियों, आज बहुत सारे पॉलिटिकल विश्लेषक बीजेपी की सफलता को समझने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं। कुछ हमारे विशेष शुभचिंतक भी हैं। इन विशेष शुभचिंतक जिनके पेट में ये सोच सोच करके दर्द होता है कि बीजेपी की जीत का राज क्या है। साथियों, मैं ज्यादा तो टीवी देख नहीं पाता हूं, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि शायद अब तक मैंने देखा नहीं है कि ईवीएम पर कोई गाली पड़नी शुरू हुई है कि नहीं हुई है। लेकिन ऐसे हर शुभचिंतक को मैं बीजेपी की सफलता का रहस्य बताना चाहता हूं। भाजपा के विजय अभियान का रहस्य छिपा है त्रिवेणी में। त्रिवेणी यानी 3 धाराओं का संगम। इस त्रिवेणी की पहली शक्ति है भाजपा सरकारों का कार्य। इस त्रिवेणी की दूसरी शक्ति है भाजपा सरकारों की कार्य संस्कृति। और इस त्रिवेणी की तीसरी शक्ति है भाजपा के कार्यकर्ताओं का सेवा भाव। ये त्रिवेणी मिलकर भाजपा की शक्ति को 1+1+1 यानी 111 गुना बढ़ा देते हैं। हमने देश को एक नई राजनीति दी है, राजनीति की एक नई संस्कृति दी है। हमने सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका विश्वास और सबका प्रयास, एक नया विकास मॉडल देश को दिया है। हमारे काम के तौर तरीकों में कोई भेदभाव नहीं होता। हम सबके विकास में भरोसा करते हैं। हम सबके लिए सेवा भाव से काम करते हैं। हमारी प्रेरणा है एक भारत श्रेष्ठ भारत। भाजपा का विकास मॉडल देश हित को सर्वोपरि रखता है। हमारे लिए देश प्रथम है, देशवासी प्रथम है। साथियों, हमारे देश में हमेशा से एक और पॉलिटिकल मॉडल रहा जिसमें पहले ऐसा कहते थे कि जो दूरदृष्टा होते हैं, स्टेट्समैन होते हैं, वो आने वाली पीढ़ियों का सोचते हैं और पॉलिटिशियन के लिए कहा जाता था कि वो अगले चुनाव का सोचते हैं। तो मुझे किसी ने एक बार कहा तो मैंने कहा अब कहावत और बदल गई है। बोले क्या? मैंने कहा पहले जो स्टेट्समैन होते हैं वो अगली पीढ़ी के लिए सोचते हैं पहले कहा जाता था कि पॉलिटिशियन अगले चुनाव के लिए सोचते हैं, लेकिन आज तो समय ऐसा बदल गया है कि पॉलिटिशियन दूसरे दिन के अखबार में क्या छपेगा इस पर ही सोचते रहते हैं। शाम को टीवी में उनकी तस्वीर आएगी कि नहीं, यही सोचते रहते हैं। और इसलिए जो आसान चीजें होती हैं, जो जरा मुंह में पानी छूट जाए ऐसी चीजें होती हैं, और जिससे लोगों को आसानी से गुमराह किया जा सकता है, उसी मॉडल पर चलने की फैशन बढ़ रही है। राजनीति के इस मॉडल में कठिन लक्ष्यों को हाथ ही नहीं लगाया जाता था, तब समस्याओं को ऐसे टाल दिया जाता था जैसे उनका कोई अस्तित्व ही नहीं है, समस्या की तरफ देखना ही नहीं। ये पॉलिटिकल मॉडल कठिनाइयों का हल नहीं करता था, बल्कि लोगों के जीवन को लंबे समय के लिए कठिनाई में जीने के लिए मजबूर कर देता था। भाजपा ने इस अप्रोच को पूरी तरह बदल दिया है। हम सबसे कठिन चीजों को हल करने के लिए कठिन से कठिन मेहनत करते हैं, और तमाम मुश्किलों के बावजूद समाधान के जो भी रास्ते मिले, उन रास्तों पर चलने का ईमानदारी से प्रयास करते हैं। हम ये नहीं देखते कि इस काम को करना कितना मुश्किल होगा, बल्कि हम ये देखते हैं कि अगर हमने इस काम को नहीं किया तो लोगों का जीवन और कितना मुश्किल हो जाएगा। हमें दर्द होता है, हमारी नींद चली जाती है। नॉर्थ ईस्ट का उदाहरण ही हमारे सामने है। आजादी के 7 दशकों बाद भी नॉर्थ ईस्ट के हजारों गांवों तक बिजली नहीं पहुंची थी। साथियों, क्या 21वीं सदी में बिना बिजली की जिंदगी कोई कल्पना कर सकता है? पहले की सरकारों ने देखा कि वहां तक बिजली पहुंचाना कठिन काम है, इसलिए उन गांवों को अंधेरे में छोड़ दिया गया। नॉर्थ ईस्ट के लोगों को घर, पक्के घर, उनको नल से जल, उनके घरों में गैस का कनेक्शन, ये उपलब्ध कराने ये पहले की सरकारों के काम की सूची में ही नहीं था, क्योंकि उनके लिए न तो उन क्षेत्रों की परवाह थी और न ही ऐसे कठिन कामों को करने का हौसला था। एयरपोर्ट, हाईवे, रेलवे, ये कनेक्टिविटी नॉर्थ ईस्ट में इन चीजों के विकास को भी कठिन मान लिया गया था। पहले की सरकारें कठिनाइयों से बचती रही और इसकी वजह से हर परियोजना में देरी होती रही। हमने इन परियोजनाओं को पूरा किया और लगातार मेहनत कर रहे हैं। हमारे ऐसे ही प्रयासों की वजह से आज देश पहली बार गरीबी के खिलाफ इतनी मजबूती से लड़ रहा है। और मुझे तो खुशी है कि मेरा गरीब भाई भी गरीबी को खत्म करने के लिए मेरे साथ कंधे से कंधा खड़ा लगा करके मेहनत कर रहा है। इसलिए आज भारत के विकास और उसकी रफ्तार की तारीफ पूरी दुनिया में हो रही है। हो रही है कि नहीं हो रही है? चारों तरफ गुंज सुनाई दे रही है कि नहीं सुनाई दे रही है? साथियों, भाजपा के विजय अभियान में जो हमारी त्रिवेणी की तीसरी शक्ति है, शिव जी के भी कहते हैं भाई तीसरा नेत्र सबसे सामर्थ्यवान माना जाता है। ये हमारी जो तीसरी शक्ति है, वो तीसरी शक्ति हमारे भाजपा के कार्यकर्ता है और मैं उनको बार बार नमन करता हूं। भाजपा के कार्यकर्ता का सेवा भाव अतुल्य है। भाजपा के कार्यकर्ता का श्रम और समर्पण अतुल्य है। भाजपा के कार्यकर्ता की पहचान उसके अनुशासन से होती है। हमारी पार्टी ने बड़ी से बड़ी मुश्किलों को देखा है। हमने कठिन से कठिन परिस्थितियों का सामना किया है, लेकिन हमारे कार्यकर्ता ने मुश्किल से मुश्किल हालातों में भी पार्टी का झंडा बुलंद रखा है। भाजपा जब कदम बढ़ाती है तो उसे रोकने के लिए उसके कार्यकर्ताओं को प्रताड़ित किया जाता है, उनके खिलाफ हिंसा की होती है, लेकिन वो राष्ट्र के लिए, राष्ट्र निर्माण के लिए संकल्पित होते हैं। इसलिए वो त्याग की पराकाष्ठा से पार्टी के कदमों को और देश के सपनों को कभी भी टूटने नहीं देते हैं, निरंतर आगे बढ़ते रहते हैं। जिस पार्टी के पास कार्य हो, कार्य संस्कृति हो और ऐसे समर्पित कार्यकर्ता हो, उसके लिए कुछ भी असंभव नहीं है। साथियों, आज मुझे ये देखकर भी खुशी है, हर चुनाव के साथ साथ देश की बहनों बेटियों का सुरक्षा कवच बीजेपी के लिए मजबूत होता जा रहा है। त्रिपुरा की, नॉर्थ ईस्ट की बहनों को भी मैं इस भरोसे के लिए विशेष आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। ये बीजेपी का सौभाग्य रहा है कि हमने नागालैंड को पहली राज्यसभा सांसद एक महिला को देकर के शुभ शुरुआत की। आज नागालैंड में तो पहली बार महिला उम्मीदवार चुनाव जीतकर विधानसभा पहुंची है। ये हम सभी के लिए, पूरे देश की माताओं बहनों के लिए गौरव की बात है। बीजेपी महिलाओं के सशक्तिकरण के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है। पीएम आवास योजना में महिलाओं के नाम घर हो, जल जीवन मिशन के तहत हर घर पाइप से पानी पहुंचाना हो, गरीब कल्याण योजना के तहत मुफ्त राशन देना हो, आयुष्मान भारत योजना के तहत 5 लाख रुपए तक का मुफ्त इलाज देना हो, मुद्रा योजना के माध्यम से बिना गारंटी लिए 10 लाख रुपए तक की मदद हो, ऐसी अनेक योजना का लाभ नॉर्थ ईस्ट की लाखों बहनों को हुआ है। इसलिए उनका भरोसा भाजपा पर लगातार सशक्त हो रहा है। ऐसे समय में जब कुछ लोग मोदी की कब्र खोदने की ख्वाहिश कर रहे हैं, जहां मौका पड़ता है कमल खिलता ही जा रहा है, खिलता ही जा रहा है। कुछ लोग कट्टर की पहचान में लगे हुए हैं। वो हर काम बेईमानी भी कट्टरता से करते हैं। ये कट्टर लोग कहते हैं मर जा मोदी, वो कहते हैं मर जा मोदी। देश कह रहे हैं मत जा मोदी, मत जा मोदी, मत जा। साथियों, आज के चुनाव नतीजों के बाद आज के नतीजों के बाद कांग्रेस ने छोटों के प्रति अपनी नफरत को फिर से जग जाहिर कर दिया। कांग्रेस कह रही है और अध्यक्ष उनके कह रहे हैं कि ये तो छोटे राज्य हैं, इनके नतीजे उतना मायने नहीं रखते। जब दिल में ही भारत को जोड़ने की भावना ना हो तो ऐसे बोल निकलते ही है। ये इन राज्यों के लोगों का अपमान है, जनमत का अपमान है। छोटे राज्यों को इस तरह तिरस्कार की भावना से देखकर कांग्रेस बहुत बड़ी गलती कर रही है। इसी सोच की वजह से कांग्रेस ने हमेशा देश के गरीब को छोटा समझा, देश के दलित, पिछड़ों, आदिवासियों को छोटा समझा। कांग्रेस ने हमेशा संख्या बल को, वोट बैंक को देखते हुए राजनीति की है। यही मानसिकता है जिसने आजादी के बाद देश का बहुत बड़ा नुकसान किया है। जब हमारी सरकार ने गरीब के लिए शौचालय बनाए तो कांग्रेस उसे छोटा काम कहती रही। जब हमने गरीब के बैंक खाते खुलवाए तो कांग्रेस ने उसे भी छोटा काम बताया। जब हमने सफाई अभियान चलाया कांग्रेस ने छोटा काम मानकर उसका भी मजाक उड़ाया। मैं कांग्रेस से कहना चाहता हूं, छोटे लोगों से, छोटे राज्यों से यही नफरत आपको आगे भी चुनाव में डुबोने जा रही है। आज नॉर्थ ईस्ट के नतीजों ने बीजेपी के खिलाफ वर्षों से चलाए जा रहे एक और प्रोपेगेंडा को भी ध्वस्त कर दिया है। आप सभी जानते हैं कि कुछ विरोधी दलों ने और उनके इकोसिस्टम ने हमेशा भाजपा पर एक लेबल चिपकाने की कोशिश की है। शुरुआत में बीजेपी को बनिया पार्टी कहा गया, हिंदी पट्टी की पार्टी कहा गया, फिर कहा गया कि बीजेपी सिर्फ शहरी मिडिल क्लास की पार्टी है और गांवों में कोई आधार नहीं है। समय के साथ इन सारे मिथकों को बीजेपी ने तोड़ दिया, लेकिन इसके साथ ही विरोधी दल ये कहने लगे कि आदिवासी क्षेत्रों में बीजेपी को उतना समर्थन नहीं है। पिछले 10 सालों में हमने इस भ्रम को भी तोड़ दिया है। आज देश का आदिवासी समाज ही नहीं, दलित और पिछड़े भी भाजपा के साथ है। अभी हमने गुजरात चुनाव में भी देखा है कि कैसे आदिवासी पट्टे में भाजपा को जबरदस्त जीत मिली है। साथियों, हमारे यहां बरसों तक माइनॉरिटीज को भी बीजेपी का डर दिखाया गया, देश विदेश में प्रोपेगेंडा चलाया गया, लेकिन अपप्रचार की इस झूठ की पोल गोवा के लोग खोलते रहे हैं। अब नॉर्थ ईस्ट के लोग भी इस झूठ की पोल खोलने में जुट गए हैं। नागालैंड और मेघालय में जहां बहुसंख्यक आबादी हमारे क्रिश्चियन भाई बहनों की है, वहां बीजेपी के लिए इतना जबरदस्त समर्थन लगातार बढ़ रहा है। वहीं नागालैंड में लगातार दूसरी बार हमें गठबंधन को आशीर्वाद मिला है। गोवा में भाजपा लगातार जीत पर जीत का रिकॉर्ड बना रही है। मैं जानता हूं जैसे जैसे कुछ दलों द्वारा फैलाए इस झूठ का पर्दाफाश होगा, वैसे वैसे भाजपा का और विस्तार होता जाएगा। साथियों, कुछ दलों द्वारा पर्दे के पीछे गठबंधन करके भाजपा को बाहर रखने का खेल भी आज देश देख रहा है। जनता देख रही है कि कैसे ये राजनीतिक दल उसके साथ, नागरिकों के साथ, जनता जनार्दन के साथ छल कपट कर रहे हैं। एक राज्य में दोस्ती और दूसरे राज्य में कुश्ती, ऐसा करने वाले राजनीतिक दलों का असली चेहरा जनता के सामने आ चुका है। केरला की जनता भी ये देख रही है कि कैसे लेफ्ट और कांग्रेस दूसरे राज्यों में गठबंधन करते हैं और केरला में एक दूसरे के खिलाफ होने का ढोंग रचाते हैं। सच्चाई यही है कि ये दोनों मिले हुए हैं, दोनों मिलकर केरला को लूट रहे हैं। इसलिए मुझे विश्वास है कि आने वाले वर्षों में भी जैसे नागालैंड में हुआ है, जैसे मेघालय में हुआ है, जैसे गोवा में होता रहा है, केरला में भी भाजपा गठबंधन की सरकार बनेगी। साथियों, नॉर्थ ईस्ट की विजय ने बाकी देश के कार्यकर्ताओं में भी ऊर्जा भर दी है। देश की जनता बार बार भाजपा पर भरोसा जता रही है। हमें विनम्र भाव से आगे बढ़ना है, हमें सभी को साथ लेकर चलना है। आजादी के इस अमृत काल में भारत को विकसित बनाने के लिए सबका प्रयास आवश्यक है। आइए यहां से हम दोगुनी ताकत से राष्ट्र निर्माण में जुट जाएं। त्रिपुरा, नागालैंड और मेघालय की जनता का मैं फिर से एक बार हृदयपूर्वक आभार व्यक्त करता हूं, उनका अभिनंदन करता हूं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। भारत माता की, भारत माता की, भारत माता की, भारत माता की। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी। मोदी जी जय श्री राम, मोदी जी जय श्री राम। पूर्वोत्तर की जीत हमारी है,
दिया गया है। ईवी मोड का अलग से फिजिकल बटन है, ट्रैक्शन ऑन ऑफ, ड्राइव मोड चेंज करने का ऑप्शन दिया गया है। यहाँ पे इलेक्ट्रॉनिक पार्किंग ब्रेक, 360 व्यू कैमरा का एक अलग से बटन दिया गया है, फिजिकल बटन, एसी कंट्रोल्स देखने को मिल रहे हैं एंड यहाँ पर इसका ये 10.1 इंच का इंफोटेनमेंट सिस्टम टच स्क्रीन देखने को मिल रहा है जो कि JBL का है। स्पीकर्स भी अब इसमें JBL के इनोवा के साथ, हाई क्रॉस के साथ देखने को मिलते हैं। देन फिजिकल बटन अलग से, वॉल्यूम वगैरह पावर के यहाँ पे नीचे देखने को मिल रहे हैं। इसके अलावा जो इंटीरियर क्वालिटी में बात करूँ, यहाँ पर जो है प्लास्टिक है, लेदर का स्टिच थोड़ा बहुत इस्तेमाल करा गया है थोड़ा प्रीमियम फील देने के लिए। यहाँ पे एक 12 वोल्ट का सॉकेट देखने को मिल रहा है, कुछ सामान रखने की जगह भी है यहाँ पे एंड ये इसका कुछ ग्लव बॉक्स इस तरह से देखने को मिलता है एंड स्पेस के हिसाब से मामला ठीक ठाक यहाँ पर देखने को मिल रहा है। ऑब्वियसली गाड़ी क्रिस्टा के मुकाबले लंबी है, व्हील बेस ज़्यादा है एंड यहाँ पर आए स्टीयरिंग पर तो राउंड स्टीयरिंग है, लेफ्ट साइड में इंफोटेनमेंट सिस्टम कंट्रोल करने की बटन्स, वॉइस कमांड, वॉल्यूम कंट्रोल्स, ट्रैक आगे पीछे करने एंड कॉल कनेक्ट डिस्कनेक्ट का ऑप्शन दिया गया है। क्रूज कंट्रोल यहाँ देखने को मिल रहा है, लेन असिस्ट यहाँ पे देखने को मिल रहा है एंड इसके अलावा टोयोटा इसमें ब्लाइंड स्पॉट मॉनिटरिंग यहाँ पे ORVM में ये भी देखने को मिल रहा है। तो सेफ्टी फीचर्स भी पहले से ज़्यादा जो इनोवा क्रिस्टा में देखने को मिलते थे अब इस नई इनोवा हाई क्रॉस में टोयोटा ने देने की कोशिश करी है। देन मोड भी यहाँ चेंज कर सकते हैं। देन डोर्स पे आए तो यहाँ पे ऑब्वियसली पावर विंडो कंट्रोल्स दिए गए हैं एंड यहाँ पे सीट के लिए मेमोरी सेटिंग्स भी दी गई हैं, 2 मेमोरी सेटिंग्स यहाँ देखने को मिल रही हैं एंड क्रोम का इस्तेमाल डोर हैंडल्स में एंड सिल्वर फिनिश यहाँ पे थोड़ी बहुत देखने को मिल रही है। डोर्स में भी लेदर टच यहाँ पे देने की कोशिश की है। हार्ड प्लास्टिक का इस्तेमाल करा गया है। क्वालिटी में कहूँगा बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छी नहीं है। आई थिंक जिस प्राइस पॉइंट पे ये आएगी मे बी शायद आप थोड़ा निराश हों बट थोड़ा प्रीमियमनेस यहाँ पे इन टर्म्स ऑफ लेदर स्टिच टोयोटा ने यहाँ पे इसकी फ्रंट रो में देने की कोशिश ज़रूर करी है। आर्मरेस्ट की बात करें तो सामान रखने की जगह अच्छी खासी है एंड यहाँ पे भी ये लेदर स्टिच दिया गया है। अब फ्रंट सीट जो है इसकी वेंटिलेटेड आती हैं, दोनों पैसेंजर और ड्राइवर जो सीट्स हैं वो इसमें अब टोयोटा वेंटिलेटेड सीट्स ऑफर कर रहा है इस इनोवा हाई क्रॉस के अंदर। कप होल्डर्स 2 यहाँ देखने को मिलते हैं एंड बॉटल होल्डर्स भी फ्रंट डोर्स में यहाँ पे देखने को मिल रहे हैं। सामान रखने की अच्छी जगह 2 पॉकेट्स में भी इधर देखने को मिल रही है एंड फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम इनोवा के अंदर इस हाई क्रॉस में पैनोरामिक सनरूफ देखने को मिल रहा है। सनरूफ पहले होता ही नहीं था बट अब जो दिया है वो पैनोरामिक सनरूफ यहाँ पे देखने को मिल रहा है। चलते हैं पीछे सेकंड रो में, स्पेस वहाँ कैसा है, लेट्स गो एंड चेक दैट आउट। एंड यहाँ पे मामला हो जाता है सेकंड रो में थोड़ा एग्जीक्यूटिव क्लास वाला और पहले से ज़्यादा यहाँ पे स्पेस देखने को मिल रहा है। लेग रूम, थाई सपोर्ट, हेड रूम एम्पल सेकंड रो पैसेंजर्स की देखने को मिल रहा है एंड क्लाइमेट कंट्रोल की बात करूँ तो यहाँ पर सेकंड रो के लिए अलग से क्लाइमेट कंट्रोल एडजस्टमेंट का ऑप्शन दिया गया है। फ्रंट रो में टेम्परेचर के हिसाब से आप अलग रख सकते हैं, सेकंड रो में टेम्परेचर सेटिंग्स अलग रखी जा सकती है। तो ये ऑप्शन भी यहाँ पे देखने को मिल रहा है। AC कंट्रोल्स, यहाँ पे छोटा डिस्प्ले दिया गया है, 2 USB-C चार्जिंग पॉइंट देखने को मिल रहे हैं एंड ये जो सीट्स हैं।
So tonight, viewers.
It was day 2 of demolition drive in Uttar Pradesh and this time bulldozers were at the doors of Atiq Ahmed's arms supplier Safdar Ali. After BJP leaders hint at an impending encounter, Atiq Ahmed moves the Supreme Court to oppose him being shifted out of Ahmedabad jail to Uttar Pradesh in relation to the probe in murder of Pal. Supreme Court's landmark reform for Election Commission says the ECs to be appointed by a panel including Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition and Chief Justice of India in order to maintain purity of elections. Supreme Court has also formed a 5-member committee headed by former SC Judge Justice A.M. Sapre in Adani Rao. Panel will be submitting its report in 2 months.
पूरा एग्जीक्यूटिव क्लास वाला मामला जो मैं कह रहा हूँ यहाँ पर इनके साथ हो जाता है कुछ इस तरह से। यू कैन रिक्लाइन द सीट एंड ये पूरी पीछे तक चली जाएगी, जैसे ऑलरेडी बगल वाली सीट आप देख सकते हैं। सो काफ़ी ज़्यादा एंगल रिक्लाइन इसका करा जा सकता है एंड देयर इज ऑल्सो अनदर ऑप्शन जो कि यहाँ पे सपोर्ट के लिए दिया गया है। तो कुछ मामला इस तरह से टोयोटा ने इस नई इनोवा हाई क्रॉस में इन टर्म्स ऑफ लग्जरी, इन टर्म्स ऑफ कंफर्ट यहाँ पर इस नई इनोवा हाई क्रॉस में देने की कोशिश करी है। इसके अलावा बात करें ऑफकोर्स पैनोरामिक सनरूफ का नज़ारा यहाँ से बेहतर ऑफकोर्स देखने को मिल रहा है। चलते हैं थर्ड रो में, स्पेस वहाँ कैसा है। सो टोयोटा इस नई इनोवा हाई क्रॉस को 7 सीटर और 8 सीटर वाले वेरिएंट्स के साथ ऑफर करने वाला है एंड थर्ड रो स्पेस कुछ इस तरह से आप एडजस्ट कर सकते हैं इन केस आगे कोई बैठा है तो ज़्यादा स्पेस मुझे लगता है नहीं बन पाएगा, स्पेशली इन टर्म्स ऑफ थाई सपोर्ट। आई डोंट फील ज़्यादा कंफर्टेबल यहाँ पे।
वहाँ पर टाइम्स ड्राइव के नाम से आप सर्च करें, उसे भी फॉलो करें, लेटेस्ट खबरें आपको मिलेंगी। और timesdrive.in है हमारा वेबसाइट, वहाँ पर तो लेटेस्ट खबरों के अलावा डिस्काउंट्स और जो स्पाई पिक्स हैं, आने वाली गाड़ियाँ हैं, उन सब के बारे में खबरें मिलेंगी। तो लेट्स स्टार्ट दिस स्टोरी। हम बात करते हैं BMW 3GL की। क्रांति संभव रिपोर्टिंग फ्रॉम द सेकंड रो ऑफ BMW 3GL। आमतौर पर ये वाला हिस्सा स्टोरी में बाद में।
Good evening and welcome to the NewsHour viewers. What a day it's been for the BJP. Months, in fact, or just months before the mega 2024 clash, the BJP's majestic performance in 3 northeastern states has stunned everyone. The BJP won Tripura and Nagaland with a thumping victory along with allies, of course, and in all likelihood could even form the government in Meghalaya with the NPP. What came as yet another disappointment for the challengers of Modi was that the Congress, the TMC and the left that had promised to dislodge the BJP in these 3 elections had to face yet another dropping. The Congress had its hopes dashed in all 3 northeastern states. Even the TMC could manage to win a few seats, but it came nowhere close to giving a challenge to the Saffron Party. Now, this verdict's being seen as a message of Vishwas in the Modi Sarkar ahead of the 2024 battle and a sign of no trust in the anti-Modi bloc. After the big win in these 3 northeastern states, the Prime Minister today reached the BJP headquarters and said that it was not just an election won by him today. He'd won the hearts of the people of the Northeast. The PM also lashed out at the Congress, saying that those who said that these were smaller states and that their result didn't matter had insulted the voters. And also, could these people really जोड़ो भारत? Listen to the Prime Minister.
नई दिशा पर चल पड़ा हुआ नॉर्थ ईस्ट हम देख रहे हैं। ये सिर्फ दिलों की दूरी समाप्त होने का ही नहीं, बल्कि ये नई सोच का प्रतिबिंब है। अब नॉर्थ ईस्ट न दिल्ली से दूर है और न ही दिल से दूर है। आज के नतीजों के बाद कांग्रेस ने छोटों के प्रति अपनी नफरत को फिर से जग जाहिर कर दिया। कांग्रेस कह रही है और अध्यक्ष उनके कह रहे हैं कि ये तो छोटे राज्य हैं, इनके नतीजे उतना मायने नहीं रखते। जब दिल में ही भारत को जोड़ने की भावना ना हो तो ऐसे बोल निकलते ही है। ये इन राज्यों के लोगों का अपमान है, जनमत का अपमान है।
And the PM also took on the Kabar Khudegi brigade as well and said that those who wish death on me have given a befitting reply, or have been given rather a befitting reply, and that only the Kamal will bloom in the country. Listen in.
जब कुछ लोग मोदी की कब्र खोदने की ख्वाहिश कर रहे हैं, जहां मौका पड़ता है कमल खिलता ही जा रहा है, खिलता ही जा रहा है। कुछ लोग कट्टर की पहचान में लगे हुए हैं। वो हर काम बेईमानी भी कट्टरता से करते हैं। ये कट्टर लोग कहते हैं मर जा मोदी, वो कहते हैं मर जा मोदी। देश कह रहे हैं मत जा मोदी, मत जा।
After the saffron sweep of the three northeastern states, party chief JP Nadda lauded the Prime Minister for bringing peace in the states which he said were once known for insurgency and targeted killings. In fact, it is a fact that these elections, the level of violence during the polling as well as the counting has come down drastically due to the stringent measures that have been taken by all, including security forces and the Election Commission as well.
जब प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी 2014 में प्रधानमंत्री बने, उस समय पूर्वोत्तर कैसा पूर्वोत्तर था? पूर्वोत्तर जाना जाता था बंद के लिए, ब्लॉकेड के लिए, इंसर्जेंसी के लिए, आतंकवाद के लिए, टारगेटेड किलिंग के लिए, तय करके किसी को किलिंग करना, अबडक्शन कर लेना, अपहरण कर लेना, इसके लिए नॉर्थ ईस्ट जाना जाता था। दिनों नहीं ब्लॉकेड लगते थे, महीनों ब्लॉकेड लगते थे, सारा काम रुक जाता था। लेकिन प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी के नेतृत्व ने नॉर्थ ईस्ट की तस्वीर और तकदीर बदल डाली। आज नॉर्थ ईस्ट शांति के लिए जाना जाता है।
That brings me to the legitimate question that we're asking this evening. Is the 2023 verdict going to echo in the 2024 polls?
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
Shehzad Pulawala, national spokesperson of the BJP, joins us for more on this. Also with us is Dr. Anand Ranganathan, author, Yashwant Deshmukh, founder and chief editor of See Voters, also with us. Sanjay Jha, author, is joining us as well. Professor Manojit Mandal, spokesperson of the TMC, is joining us, as well as Rahula Sridhar Reddy, leader of the BRS. Let me start straight with Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha, you heard what the Prime Minister said as far as the attitude of various political parties, and he was ostensibly talking about what the Congress president said in relation to these losses, calling them small states. He says this shows not just the attitude towards looking at things from big or small or an electorally important or numerically bigger perspective, and really asking the question that if you're only thinking from the perspective of vote banks, can you really jodo Bharat?
Marvin, good evening. I think my point is very straightforward. I wish the Prime Minister, who's been questioned in Parliament and the world is talking about the big Adani meltdown, had chosen a platform to at least speak one word on it. One word, maybe an apology, maybe to say now that the Supreme Court has formed a committee that end of day he believes that his government will cooperate with the investigation. There should have been some statement made on Adani. Now listen, you can win elections. I do agree that the BJP has won 2 states, more or less, and it may form a government in the third one. But let us not, shall we say, confuse or rather miss the woods for the trees. The larger issues before the country do not go away, unfortunately. Today you have had a day which I think should embarrass the BJP. Today is a day where the Supreme Court has had to reconstitute the Election Commission's entire, personnel who will man it, which is a slap on the face of this authoritarian government, which has been accused by the opposition parties of dismantling democracy. It's a day of shame, actually, for the BJP. Number 2, this is also a day when the Supreme Court has to form a committee to investigate Adani. It's procedural, but these are very embarrassing moments for any ruling party in India.
Okay.
And listen,
Sanjay Jha,
I've been in politics long enough to tell you that
Sanjay Jha,
performance is one thing. Running the country in a proper, healthy democratic polity with the kind of standards the public of India deserves is another.
Sanjay Jha, without taking away from the gravity of the 2 issues, and they're very important issues, I will concede them. But for the moment, let's stick to the developments that have taken place electorally. Ultimately, in the People's Court, what happens in the Supreme Court is undoubtedly very, very important. I'm not going to discount from that at all. Repeatedly, the 2 issues that you've raised as well have been covered extensively by this channel. But for the moment, we are debating what the Prime Minister has just said, given the fact that in 3 states, or at least 2 of the 3 states, there is a clear victory for BJP and its allies. And in that light, I want to take bring Shehzad Poonawala in, because the issues that have been made. One second, Sanjay, you've had your say. Let's bring in others as well, because we have very limited time. Please bear with me. We have very limited time. I'm going to come back to you as soon as I get in a perspective from others. Shehzad Poonawala, the subtext of what the Prime Minister was referring to is that issues that Sanjay Jha is raising, that very serious issues at that, but at the end of the day, we had a Bharat Jodo Yatra. The Prime Minister refers to that when he says that ultimately who is jodoing Bharat?
Let me just start with an adage that applies to some panelists sitting here. तुम्हारे पैरों तले जमीन नहीं रही, पर हैरत की बात है कि तुम्हें यकीन नहीं है. तो this is the kind of attitude some people, and today let us analyze what has happened in these three states. Madhav, there is one end, there is a vistar of the vichardhara of the BJP, where we have now made the Northeast our gateway, and then there is the grave of the Congress that has been dug in the last 10 years. We were a party of 1.5% vote in Tripura 10 years ago. Today we are sitting at almost 40%. We have formed the government 2 times. In Nagaland we have come back to power. In Meghalaya we are looking strong. Both of these are Christian dominated states, and the third one is an Adivasi dominated state. And this is a situation of Congress that in the last 10 years, Nagaland 0, last 10 years Meghalaya from 20 plus seats to 5, and this is after Bharat Jodo Yatra, where they said that the minorities and the Adivasis were the worst targets of the campaign of the BJP. Today Goa, Meghalaya, Tripura, Nagaland, state after state, and the Ashtalakshmi of the Northeast is voting us back to power, and this is happening because of the divine blessings. Now divine means what? Divine means development in Northeast. That is the meaning of divine. And therefore today, for the first time, historic fact that a woman has been elected to the Assembly of Nagaland.
2 women in fact.
Today, yes, I stand to be corrected. The first time after 16 years, a bridge has been built in the Northeast. For the first time, a goods train has gone to Manipur in 75 years. These big developments have taken place because of the focus of the Prime Minister, who visited Northeast 50 times. Just coming up in just last 2-3 points, very quickly. Today there has been acceptance. See, even Italy Prime Minister is saying that there is acceptance of Prime Minister world over, but there is a complete rejection of Congress's politics. Their dosti in Tripura, kushti in Kerala, love you in Tripura, hate you in Kerala. This politics of opportunism has been rejected. Politics of just trying to put propaganda has been rejected. And Rahul Gandhi's Bharat Jodo Yatra amounts to nothing when statement of Khadge ji comes and he insults Northeast, saying that these are small states. Kya farak padta hai?
Okay. Very important points that you made there, but I want to take on one of the points and let me bring in Professor Monojit Mandal, spokesperson of the TMC. Professor Mandal, one of the concluding points that was made by the Prime Minister, and it's a very important one because this has been the subject of much public debate, because he has said that whatever, all sorts of propaganda is spread in India, lies are spread in India and abroad, Goa and Northeast have exposed these lies because these are states which have significant Christian population, like for instance Nagaland, where the BJP has won with the coalition, but with drastic numbers and people reposing their faith in the party. So the lies of the opposition, he alleges, have been thoroughly exposed. Your response to that statement of the Prime Minister?
No, I do congratulate all the winners, including the big winners of my political party in Meghalaya. We were only since last year, barely, and we could manage to get 5 seats and over 15% of votage. That's besides the point. Madhav, if you look at the history of Northeastern politics, maybe for the last 25-30 years, it has happened that way that whoever is ruling in the center actually automatically do have some say in the Northeastern politics. This has been traditionally the case. Before 2014, BJP was nowhere really in the picture. Even they were talking about Meghalaya and development. If there was so much of development, as my friend was quite eloquently vexing about, then why did they leave the government 6 months ago? The Meghalaya government. I don't understand. And then this also leads me to the second question. It's a very important one. The Prime Minister 7 days ago called this NPP government the most corrupt government, and now, only now, they're talking about forming a government with the same NPP political party. And this is kusti dasti political ideology that you are lecturing about. And look at us on the other hand. Abhishek Banerjee, the young man of 32, 33 years of age, look at the kind of responses that he got.
Ultimately, you have not answered my question. The point that you're making about hypocrisy of the BJP, Shehzad can answer that. But let me, before I ask him that question, sir, I have asked you a direct question. When the Prime Minister refers to a certain kind of idea, certain kind of lies being spread about him, and about the nature in which minorities, he alleges, are fed a certain kind of propaganda. When it comes to the vote, ultimately what matters is where the vote, where the voters and which way they go ahead and finally cast their ballot. In this election, that is not being seen, sir. Isn't that a setback to that extent to the opposition?
Ultimately, ideology doesn't matter. Ultimately, principles doesn't matter. What matters is getting vote. And by the way, BJP in Meghalaya, they have lost their vote shares. So they are at 2. They had two seats in 2018. Please check your facts. They are only at 2.
What about Nagaland and Tripura? What about Nagaland and Tripura also they have lost votes?
In Tripura they were in the power, and even in Tripura they lost their seat.
Okay.
Tripura in 2020 18 election they I think had 35 seats on their own. Now
very interesting analysis. You have lost all the elections. I mean, if I have to believe Professor Mandal, you performed. BJP has performed very badly. Shehzad Punawala, please respond to the hypocrisy, the alleged hypocrisies and the sliding vote share of the BJP that Professor Mandal is alleging today on national television. Please respond. You've asked a couple of questions, sir. Now please listen to the response. I want you to listen to the response as well.
See, some people are not just looking like aliens, even their arguments are sounding alien. Look, first of all...
Let's not take personal jabs. Please, there's a technical error over there. Yeah, let's not. Please,
no, there is a technical error.
Yes,
you're absolutely right. The technical error is...
Let's not go that far. That's not fair.
I'll tell you why.
That's not fair. Answer the question, please.
Madhav, first of all, to insult the Northeast by saying that whoever is in the center, by virtue of being in the center, the Northeast goes towards them. Is the relationship of Northeast transactional with this country? We consider the relationship of Northeast people emotional. And therefore, the people of Northeast reject them. Tripura should have been a fertile ground for the TMC. बड़े गाजे बाजे के साथ आप गए थे ना त्रिपुरा में, कितने वर्ष पहले गए थे? कहां है त्रिपुरा में आप बड़े गाजे बाजे के साथ गोवा में गए थे, कहां है गोवा में आप? So let us understand why people are rejecting you. Secondly, now let me come to the more important point. He is talking about hypocrisy. Sir, we have taken a principled stand on various issues and we continue to take that stand. But you tell me...
Incidentally, TMC also lost deposits in 28 seats in Tripura. Last time they had contested 24 seats and lost deposit in all of them as well.
Absolutely.
So, I'm sorry, we've lost Professor Mandal. My team just informs me.
But let me come to one last point.
Quickly.
Today, Congress has won 8 out of 180 seats in an area which is predominantly convenient to their kind of so-called pseudo-secular politics.
Okay.
And today they are saying that BJP has lost and Sanjay Jha is saying that Rahul Gandhi has done well.
Okay.
This itself shows that what kind of suspended logic and
quick
suspended
response.
membership.
Manojit Mandal, quick response. 28 seats were lost by TMC in Tripura. Last time 24 seats were contested and all of them deposit was lost. So, I mean, your party also will have to, you may criticize the BJP and have every right to, but what about your own party's performance?
In the similar vein, I can talk what happened to that Abki Bar, Dosho Par in Bengal. You are at 77 now.
Elections are history, sir. We are discussing Northeast elections.
No.
From 3 to 77.
This is a political party. Why are you
in 5 years. We are very proud of our Karyakartas and their performance. From 1.5% to 40% in Tripura in 10 years.
Look, I mean...
Okay, let him speak. Let him make his point. Okay, yeah, make your point.
With thumping majority. You want to win the studio debates with thumping majority by raising your voice absolutely uncourteously. That's the party that you represent. What I'm saying is very clear that we went to Tripura only in 2021 December, barely a year ago. And even then, during the municipal election, we did well. Yes, we conceded the defeat. And we'll try to do the soul searching why this happened. But in Meghalaya, in 9 months, we got the better of BJP.
I want to broaden this a bit.
You are not focusing on that.
Okay, I want to broaden this a bit. The national picture, many hands going up. Gentlemen, many hands going up. I'm going to request all of you to just hold on for a few more minutes. I'm going to come to each of you. But you know what Professor Mandal is saying, we have to extrapolate to the national picture. And I want Yashwant Deshmukh to come in on this. Yashwant Deshmukh, as a pollster, what are the big trends that one can pick up from this? Now, anybody can argue. I mean, we've already known and we've already debated what has been said by certain political leaders that, the size of the number of voters is small, the states are smaller, etc. But somewhere or the other, it shows that there is an image of the Prime Minister and of the BJP, and certainly in areas where they have not performed this well, whether with the help of allies or not, ultimately they are forming governments. And this has massive implications for 2024. How do you look at this, Yashwant Deshmukh?
Well, Madhavan, 2 quick points. First of all, I think it's factually incorrect probably to say that BJP has lost votes. I mean, they are maintaining almost the same vote share, approximately 9% plus, 15% plus in Nagaland and 9% plus in Meghalaya. They lost about 4% in Tripura.
On your screen it's showing 43 to 39.
Professor Mandal, you were objecting to others interrupting you. Now you're interrupting others. Now let's hold our horses. I'm requesting everyone.
I'm just talking about numbers.
He's talking numbers, sir. He's a poster. Let him make his point. He's not even started speaking. You're interrupting him. Let him make his point, please. Everybody will be given a chance to rebut, and there are others who've not yet even spoken. So please be a little patient with me today. Yes, Yashwant.
So very quickly, I mean, that's factually probably, I mean, from the larger picture, I don't think that parties who are in power, when going back and asking for mandate again, maintaining their vote share is pretty much a pro-incumbent wording. That's number one. Number two, the small states. I don't remember when was the last time the small states made these kind of headlines from Kashmir to Kanyakumari in that way. Literally. Not, I've been doing in this business, I'm in this business for almost like 3 decades. I've tried really hard for the mainstream media and the regional media to actually look into the Northeast election. But the kind of coverage that Northeast now is getting, that itself is underlining how much it has become into the mainstream.
Right.
Third, 25 Lok Sabha seats. You know, Madhavan, people overemphasize and overlook the BJP numbers in UP, Bihar, and its importance as far as the BJP is concerned in crossing 272 on its own. But I am very clear, these 25 seats are extremely, extremely critical for BJP to cross 272 on its own. For the BJP, their number one and number two do understand this. This is why they go all out, and they put everything that they have into these elections.
Yes.
Unfortunately for the opposition, they remain the small states.
Right.
Till the point of time, they remain the small states. And the number one and number two, the BJP, continue to the campaign the way they do.
Well, aggressive campaigning. Aggressive campaigning has been a leitmotif of the BJP, and certainly, of course, your point is also very valid, because in several states, particularly in the northern part of the country, close to 100% results have been, achieved in 2014 and 2019 in several states. Can that performance be repeated for a third time? Many would say the probability of that is quite difficult. But let me bring in Dr. Anand Ranganathan. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, how do you view these 3 states and the import of this as far as the national picture is concerned?
Good evening, Madhav. Amazing how Indians keep voting for Modi and his party, despite reports by foreign organizations, newspapers and NGOs that India is hungrier, poorer, more intolerant, more polluted, more bigoted, more parched, more uneducated, more malnourished, more insular than ever before. Bad Indians, bad Indians. You know, I'm not prone to bombast, Madhav, but please allow me this once. The opposition, quite rightly, has, as Mr. Modi alleged, had been, seeing the 7 sisters as stepsisters. Modi brought a sea change. He started looking at them as soul sisters, and the change is absolutely evident. From 1% vote share, or I think 1.25% vote share in Tripura about 9 years ago. What is it now? 39%. It's spectacular. And this is an area where, as Shahzad also mentioned, it's actually prone to, if I may be using poll speak, vote bank politics, because the mostly non-Hindu tribals. But you see how the parties that indulge in vote bank politics, like for example, Congress has got 9 out of 182 seats, and TMC has lost deposits in I think 20 seats. So the verdict is very clear. Now we must analyze why has this happened. I think Yashwant has hit the nail on the head by saying that those 25 odd Lok Sabha seats were from the beginning considered crucial for Modi. I think that has brought this sea change. That has brought the emphasis shifting from the center to the state. Now, it's not that easy, to be honest with you, to shift the emphasis from Lok Sabha to the states, because these states traditionally have been very inaccessible as far as providing the amenities are concerned. But look what has happened in the last, forget about 8 years, in the last 6 years. Just very briefly, just 10 seconds. Ayushman Bharat, the maximum benefit of Ayushman Bharat have been these 7 sisters. Maximum. Assam has been transformed. So has been Meghalaya, Tripura. The reason for beating anti-incumbency is solely on tap water connection and Ayushman Bharat. So the opposition can go on saying that it is intolerant, fascism is here, India is hungrier, poorer. The fact is Indians are voting for Modi. Why? This is what needs to be analyzed by the opposition.
Absolutely.
Because Modi is providing them these amenities.
Okay, okay. Number of hands going up. Number of hands going up. Mr. Reddy has not yet spoken. But before I come across to Mr. Reddy, I want to quickly play out that bite of the Prime Minister on the important point that was made by Dr. Anand Ragnathan and also by Shehzad Poonawalla on what he said as to Goa and Northeast exposing lies spread by opposition. Let's listen to that bite of the Prime Minister and then I'll come to you, gentlemen, for responses. Quickly.
साथियों, हमारे यहाँ बरसों तक माइनॉरिटीज को भी बीजेपी का डर दिखाया गया, देश विदेश में प्रोपेगेंडा चलाया गया, लेकिन अपप्रचार की इस झूठ की पोल गोवा के लोग खोलते रहे हैं। अब नॉर्थ ईस्ट के लोग भी इस झूठ की पोल खोलने में जुट गए हैं।
Ravula Sridhar Reddy, the people of Northeast, the people of Goa have spoken. They've exposed the lies of opposition where minorities were being, fed all sorts of fears and lies and propaganda. That's what the Prime Minister said. Your response to him?
So, in this particular aspect, country knows what exactly how BJP deals with minorities and their leaders' statements, their national spokespersons' statements, and why their spokespersons were suspended.
Why are they still voting for BJP and allies then, sir?
Listen. One legislator, Mr. Raja Singh, was suspended in Hyderabad. And why? Because their leaders, how they speak, how they talk about minorities and all that, people know. Couple of electoral, victories in, some smaller states or some states.
Again, smaller states.
With the right picture.
This is, Mr. Reddy, you're saying exactly what the Prime Minister has just objected to. My question is to you, very simply this. Leave alone smaller states, big states for just a moment. When there is a certain premise that opposition parties have repeatedly tried to put out that the BJP is against minorities, etc., and you have a situation where in Goa, the BJP gets a huge chunk of the Christian votes. In Nagaland, which is predominantly Christian and even tribal, in a state like that, they get a resounding number of seats. What is the message that is going on over there? Somewhere the narrative of the opposition party, has it faltered? Have you failed to communicate? What is going on?
Madhav, while I don't want to build their performance today, I can say they just maintained the status quo. They retained the power in Tripura and two other states. Only in one state they have increased the share of the votes, and there is nothing much gained. If Narendra Modi's image has gone up from 2018 to 2023, the numbers would have gone up. In Tripura, you have gone down by 4 seats.
The numbers have marginally improved. Have marginally improved, sir. It's not. Yeah.
The electoral outcome in 1 or 2 states cannot exactly show the picture how BJP deals with minorities.
Okay. Just 1 or 2
statements from the spokespersons every day out.
Okay.
And as Mr. Shah was saying today in the Supreme Court, how you dealt with lies. What lies? Is the 10-12 lakh crores wiped out in the Adani's total.
Yes, we have discussed that. They're very important issues. I'm not denying. Sir, I'm not for a moment going to say that's not an important issue, but for the moment we're just discussing the outcome of the polls and what the Prime Minister has just said. So please bear with me. I want BJP to quickly respond to the points that you made, that few small states cannot determine the response of minorities towards the BJP. It would be wrong to extrapolate that. Sorry.
Once again, I take objection to calling this a small state, but let me take forward what Anand was just saying. When 4 lakh houses get water connections, when 3.5 lakh houses are built in a population of 36 lakh people, when 76% increase takes place in per capita income and 68% increase takes place in farm incomes, this happens for Madhav and Matthew both. It happens for Sunita and Sandra both. So therefore, the schemes of Prime Minister Modi do not discriminate. They do not see the jati, dharm or what orientation you have. They go to the final Labharti and they benefit that Labharti, and therefore you're seeing what you're seeing in Goa or in the Northeast or in other places. And it is quite objectionable that those people who could not give, one statistic I want to give you, that not a single goods train reached Manipur for 75 years. In last 60 years, they built 6 airports for Northeast.
Okay.
Today, the number is at 15
Quick
airports.
response from Sanjay Jha.
Hira, highway, internet, roadway, airway connectivity has been increased so that Northeast is connected with the people of this country.
Quick voices. Sanjay Jha, quick response, please. 30 seconds.
Yeah, Madhav, 2 points. Number one, let us not ignore the fact that Congress today has won significant by-polls in West Bengal, in Maharashtra, and in Tamil Nadu. That, by the way, is a pan-India repercussion of some good things that are happening. But the second point, very important here, and which is that we are soon going to be on your panel discussions in a few weeks on Karnataka. And may I remind all the BJP spokesmen and the cheerleaders on the show, it is called a 40% cut government. Not even 30%, it's gone up to 40%. I was in Bangalore a few weeks ago, and several people were liberally calling it the most corrupt government in Karnataka's history.
Right.
So don't worry, we'll have many more interactions in the year ahead.
Okay.
And there are many more big elections or small
Multiple
elections.
hands going up. Multiple hands going up. Quick 30-second responses from Anand and then Yashwant as well. Anand, quick response, please. We have very limited time.
Yeah, no, the same comment that Sanjay is making about Karnataka. Few months ago, he was making about Gujarat. He was saying there is a sweeping change against the BJP. Congress and AAP are going to sweep BJP off Gujarat. And what happened, my dear Sanjay? The same things you were talking about, the bridge collapse, BJP being corrupt, BJP needs to be thrown out. What happened in Gujarat? Voters are not fools. Please deliver them the amenities. Give them water, give them housing, give them electricity. Don't give them dreams.
Okay, quick response. Yashwant, quick closing comments, please. Almost out of time.
Very quickly, I mean, my numbers have already said in the tracker that BJP is finding it tough in Karnataka. So, Sanjay, please spare me when I say that you are quoting my numbers on Karnataka trend. So, I am out of that debate. But where I find it strange and ironical, now the narrative of Sarkari Muslims seems to have shifted to Sarkari Christians as well. And which is the most unfortunate part of it.
Okay.
Any Muslim voting for BJP becomes a Sarkari Muslim.
Right.
Any Christian voting for BJP becomes a Sarkari Christian.
Right.
So any Hindu voting for TMC or the Congress or the TRS becomes a Sarkari Hindu.
Very interesting.
That's something which has to stop somewhere.
Very interesting, because I'm sure there will be a number of opposition parties which will very strongly react to the Prime Minister's speech, but that's for tomorrow evening's debate. We'll have to leave it tonight. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello and welcome to this very special episode of Frankly Speaking, and tonight I have a guest who needs no introduction, Mr. Bill Gates himself. Thank you for joining me on Frankly Speaking, Mr. Bill Gates. Do you have a special place in your heart for India? Because India loves you, and we see you ever so often and talking about issues that India should deal with. India at this moment is also hosting the G20 presidency. How do you look at India on the world map of countries to watch out for?
Well, India is super important. In my Microsoft career, a lot of my colleagues came from India. Now Satya Nadella's doing a great job running Microsoft. For the foundation, the country that we've engaged with by far the most is India. And not only are we seeing great progress in India, but a lot of the things that are going well in India show us how we can go to the rest of the world and bring that same type of innovative progress.
What is your real interest on what you wrote about India? And you said India as a whole gives me hope for the future. It's about to become the world's most populous country. What is the hope that you're talking about?
Well, it's great to see that a democracy, even though it's chaotic, that it allows for multiple voices, and over time it picks leaders who care about the health system, who care about the education system. Slowly but surely, as the economy grows, the government has more resources for those things. And so it's the progress since I started foundation work here all the way back in the year 2000 has been phenomenal. I have a lot of charts that show things like childhood death, including measles, diarrhea, and those results are very exciting.
And Do you think emphasis on these issues of health, poverty alleviation, of course we have miles to go, but do you think the pace at which India is tackling these issues is something that would be seen as satisfactory, progressive? How would you rate it?
Well, the progress is much faster than most developing countries, and that's why such good models are coming out. Obviously, China did a lot of development, but it did it in a very different way. There are some lessons from that. India now in health, the focus on foundational learning is a fairly new thing in the last few years, NIPPON, which is a really great program that we want to help accelerate the progress on that. So yes, India's, it's more than a glass half full in terms of the great work.
In India, the political discourse is rather shrill. Many people compare the pace of growth in the last 9 years and before that. Do you see any change in approach of governance, especially in the areas that we're talking about, in the last 9 years since the Modi government?
Well, the progress numbers I look at go all the way back to the year 2000, so there's been progress. I will say that the quality of the government staff involved in health work or education work or this digital work, including the financial services, that quality continues to go up. India has a number of great people. The fact that a lot of them are being picked to serve in key government roles, that's a big positive trend, really I'd say of the last 5 years in terms of my noticing that bodes well for the future.
Mr. Bill Gates, we've spoken about the pandemic experience. How do you think India handled the pandemic? Are there any lessons to be learned on what could be done better? And which were the areas where we did, as a country, perform well, better than expected?
Well, India did well compared to all countries in terms of making vaccines. We worked with partners like Serum to help them get going, but that resource was not only great for the country but also for the world. The digital approach with COWIN, where you were able to see, okay, which communities were not accessing the vaccines, and then as we realized it was the elderly that we wanted to emphasize, then really trying to get them the coverage there, which is the greatest risk up. No country did a perfect job because, we didn't expect the pandemic, and so we were all scrambling to get going. Even the United States was quite a disappointment in terms of how prepared they were to scale up the diagnostics. And so there's a lot of great talk about, okay, we need better surveillance to catch these things earlier on. There's an initiative called One Health to see if something's coming from animals into human health and get that really early. So I do think there are still great discussions about how we do better, both in India and at the global level.
Mr. Bill Gates, also you've spoken about preparing for the next pandemic, which sounds ominous, it sounds scary, to put it mildly, and you think that it's not going to be possibly as easy, if that's the word one can use, for the COVID pandemic. Is it going to be worse? How do we prepare for it? And can you foretell what are we looking at?
Well, governments, a responsibility to their people is to look at floods, earthquakes, hopefully not wars, but even that they have to think ahead and on behalf of the people make sure that the capacity is there to minimize the damage. Pandemics don't come very often, and so we really let our guard down. We didn't know how to scale up the diagnostics. Even in the rich countries like the US that have so much in the way of resources in that health sector. And so the innovations now, okay, cheaper diagnostics that you can manufacture quickly, using digital approaches like the CoWIN. You know, I do think we will be a lot better prepared. The next 2 or 3 years, we can't forget the pandemic because we still have more work to do. I can't predict when the next pandemic will come, but because of the boundary between humans and nature, I don't think it'll be another 100 years. And so it really is worth investing. These investments are not gigantic to have the right standby capacity, just like for fires, where we know that they will come.
Mr. Gates, the issue of handling, you said no country handled perfectly the COVID situation. But do you think this zero COVID policy by China backfired? And do you believe that, the entire COVID pandemic was actually something that went horribly wrong in a Chinese lab?
We're going to be discussing, did we do too little lockdown, too much lockdown? Now that we know that young people weren't very susceptible, maybe schools should have continued, but what about the teachers? How do you deal with that? Academics really need to look at that data and help us understand that. China took a very different approach. They were able to suppress, even though the infection started there, they were able to suppress it. Most governments wouldn't be able to do that. Now it requires very strong measures to do that, and then later they decided to open up. They did benefit because by the time they opened up, they had some vaccination, and the strain at that point was a less damaging strain than we had earlier in the pandemic. But the origin, I don't bring anything new to that. I think it came across through animals, but there's lots of experts who will continue to debate that,
including those in the FBI.
Well, the U.S. government, I think of 6 departments, 3 say one thing, 3 say another. They say it with low confidence. So, I think lab safety is a good topic, but the most likely cause, and that we have to be ready for in the future, is that it comes across, like flu comes from birds and pigs, and so both require vigilance.
Mr. Bill Gates, you've been to the war room of the health minister back then in the COVID days. What was your experience and what did you notice? And do you think it was sort of managing the scale at which the pandemic was happening effectively? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, India used digital systems to get their very high coverage rate. India has, for middle-income countries, about the highest coverage rate. So that's a real achievement. The thing I'm most excited about is now we're taking those digital systems and we're applying them to the ongoing health system, to make sure that drugs are not stocked out, to understand, are we getting the vaccines out to every child? And so this digital approach that the different states are innovating and sharing with each other under this ABDM mission, that's very exciting. So although the pandemic was a super negative thing, the way it's pushed digital into the health system to drive quality and visibility, that is very exciting.
And how does it rate to experiences of other countries?
Well, India did a lot of things well. The U.S., we've funded vaccine work, lots of money, and that helped out the world. India, with help from partners, was the big vaccine manufacturer. I think 4 companies, with Serum being by far the largest, did a really great job of ramping up. These vaccine companies are partners of our foundation because we've helped them create new vaccines, bring the price of the vaccines down. So we, engaged with them very early on, and we can write checks very, very quickly. And so it was great to see that all come together.
No, and the digital surveillance, the whole digital piece that India moved, how does that also compare with the rest of the world?
Well, India ramped up the diagnosis very quickly. Australia did an amazing job where they got the diagnosis going so quickly, they avoided a lot of the infection. So they'll end up with a death rate, given that they have lots of old people, a much lower death rate than the other rich countries. So there's 3 or 4 things where India was among the best. Quick getting diagnostics out, which most of the rich countries didn't do. Australia really stands out in that respect. So, we're all seeing, okay, who did what well. But, the digital approach, the vaccine manufacturing, very strong grade for India.
Mr. Bill Gates, what would you worry about more? Forthcoming pandemics or climate change, which is a huge challenge? We can already feel it. The winters are getting shorter. In India, the summers are getting longer and longer. What kind of a challenge do you think climate change does hold for this part of the world?
Yeah, I spend a lot of time on my foundation health work, and the foundation's involved in making sure that people can adapt to these climate changes, including with better seeds. I was out seeing the great agricultural research here in India as part of this trip. I also, under the Breakthrough Energy brand, work on investing in innovations that are going to help us stop the emissions. So new ways of making cement or steel or electricity. So that's called mitigation. Climate, because it'll just get gradually worse and worse, and because what we have to change to get rid of emissions is so gigantic, it's one of the toughest problems we face. And India, because it's near to the equator, will be affected. These very high temperatures make it hard for the crops, make it hard to do outdoor work. And so it is a looming problem that requires global cooperation.
And 2070 as the net zero date, is it feasible to do it by then? And by then, will it be just too late?
Obviously, the rich countries need to lead. They have had the historic emissions, and they need to not only get their emissions to zero, but participate in an innovation ecosystem that allows India to do these things like cement and steel without having it cost a lot extra, what I call that the green premium, because India is providing basic shelter and getting up, improving lifestyles in a way that we don't want to see that slow down. And so it's really innovation that will let India improve livelihoods at full speed while not becoming a gigantic emitter. And I'm super glad to see the emphasis that the government puts on this. Prime Minister Modi was with me in 2015. He named Mission Innovation, that said innovation is part of the solution. And in the last 8 years, that's really starting to kick in.
And do you think we're going fast enough as the world, as a global participant in the world with tackling some of these emission norms? Is the world going fast enough?
No, because the deadline, usually when you're innovating and improving things, you can take your time. Here we have this goal of doing in the next 30 years a replacement of a lot of infrastructure. And so we need to keep our attention on it. We have these yearly meetings. I'm making sure the innovation focus is in those meetings. So we should never relax because of the scale involved. Getting ready for a pandemic doesn't require a ton of our resources, whereas the climate mission, you have to have sort of all of society seeing it as a priority.
Mr. Bill Gates, When you're not handling your foundation work, when you're not writing books, when you're not engaging with global leaders to find solutions to some of these large global issues, what does Mr. Bill Gates do?
Well, I have 3 children, and they're a great joy to me. The oldest got married last year, and now's had my first grandchild.
So Grandpa Bill Gates.
Yeah.
And what do they call you?
Well, the child's young enough that we haven't figured that out yet. I'm looking forward to that. I play a lot of tennis. I read a lot. The world is fascinating. I'm always trying to learn new things. And I'm very lucky that I get to meet with lots of smart people to say, okay, what's going on in health? What's going on in education? So, I'm very, very lucky that I love my work and I love my friends and family.
And there are many reports about many other things in people that you love. Anything new happening in your life?
Oh,
you get written about a lot. Do you read some of that stuff?
I do.
You see it on social media getting so much attention, even your private life.
It comes with the territory. I have a great life.
Great life? Not saying more?
Nothing more on that.
And the other 2 children?
My youngest is still in college. My middle child graduated last year, so they're good students, each with different interests. They keep me fresh because they're using technology in an even better way than I do. So
we have a Microsoft 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 coming up.
I wouldn't impose on them that they should work in software or try to build a big company.
Maybe hardware.
They each have their own passions. The oldest is at medical school, so that's exciting. The second one wants to help politics be smarter. We need
smart politicians
smart
as well.
Policy people, so we'll get some help there.
So all in all, are you in a good place?
Yes. I'm lucky. I've had 2 incredible careers, my Microsoft career, now my foundation and climate career. It's very fulfilling. Even this week, being here in India and seeing the energy and seeing the progress, seeing the quality of these activities all even better. It's been 4 years since I was here, and I was looking forward to getting back. Normally I come at least every year, but that was interrupted, and so now the progress I'm seeing is amazing.
Have you already met the Prime Minister, and what is your conversation with Prime Minister Modi like?
Well, he's very aware of the health progress, and he has a sense of urgency that I share, and so there's always lots to talk about. Looks like I will get to see him tomorrow. I really appreciate that.
And any special prescription for India that you have in mind for a discussion with him?
The top-level strategy of putting more resources into health and using innovation there, taking this foundational learning and making that a priority, and now saying, hey, India is going to share this. India is going to come up with low-cost models to solve many of these problems, and it wants the rest of the world to have access to that. This G20 it's very timely that the G20 is here, and seeing things like the digital finance, where India, in many respects, has done better than any other country.
So, Mr. Bill Gates, it's been a pleasure, and I hope you've enjoyed your visit to India as much as the media here has enjoyed covering you every step of the way. And we do hope we'll have you back in India sooner than later, and pandemics don't interrupt your regular relationship with India in terms of visits. Thank you very much for joining me on Frankly Speaking.
Fantastic.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
The News Hour at 9 will be right back after the break.
हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं मोहुल, who is founder and CEO of Matter. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So Mohul, we've already seen this bike. I still don't know what you guys going to call it right now, but hopefully, we're going to know about it in a couple of months, I believe, and more details that we already know about specifications and what you are offering with this bike. But उसके अलावा कुछ और चीज़ें हैं जिनकी डिटेल्स अभी आनी बाकी हैं. So इस बाइक को लेकर थोड़ा टाइमलाइन, इफ यू कैन एक्सप्लेन किस तरह का टाइमलाइन रहने वाला है एंड कब इसका ऑफिशियली लॉन्च आप करने वाले हैं.
Definitely. So first thing is at the Auto Expo we have also showcased the 6 kilowatt version of the bike. So at launch we had a 5 kilowatt version. Now we also have a 6 kilowatt version of the bike. And in terms of timeline, in the next 30 days we will be giving out the spec variants and pricing to the larger market. We will be opening up bookings for the Matter motorbike this quarter, and deliveries summer में शुरू हो जाने वाली है.
Summer में शुरू हो जाएंगी. So एक चीज़ जो बहुत ही टेक्नोलॉजी का इंटरेस्टिंग है इस बाइक के बारे में, इसमें गियर है.
Yep.
इलेक्ट्रिक बाइक होने के साथ साथ इसमें वो आइस वाला आपने एसेंस और बहुत बड़ा एसेंस इसमें बचा के रखा है. सो वो कैसे आपने उस पर काम किया एंड हाउ डिड यू थॉट अबाउट दिस कि ये अगर हम इसमें इंक्लूड कर पाते हैं गियर शिफ्ट वाला पैटर्न, सो वो कैसे स्टार्ट हुआ?
So when we in 2019 when we were starting out, we spoke to a lot of consumers कि electric bike क्यों नहीं खरीदे. In 2019 there were only a handful of players who were giving motorcycles as a product, and what we realized is कि motorcycling is emotion driven. You name your bike, you work with it, you control it, you become one with your bike, and from there the common theme came, control नहीं मिल रहा, feel नहीं आ रही. And obviously once we started translating कि हमें क्या सुनाई दे रहा है और कस्टमर को क्या चाहिए, and we've spoken to over 500 customers on this. Clear indication, gear तो चाहिए. And that's when we said कि let's make something that the consumers truly want. ऐसा नहीं कि जो टेक्नोलॉजी है उसी को वापस पैकेज करके दे देते हैं. Let's make it. तो वहाँ से when the journey started, we had to make our own motors. We had to make the gearboxes, the batteries, the electronics, the entire vehicle from scratch.
And nobody would have, I believe nobody would have thought of जितने भी EVs, two wheelers इंडिया में अब आ रहे हैं, ये गियर वाला.
You're watching the NewsHour at 9.
It was day 2 of demolition drive in Uttar Pradesh, and this time bulldozers were at the doors of Atiq Ahmed's arms supplier Safdar Ali. After BJP leaders hint at an impending encounter, Atiq Ahmed moves the Supreme Court to oppose him being shifted out of Ahmedabad jail to Uttar Pradesh in relation to the probe in murder of Pal.
You were watching the NewsHour at 9. Stay tuned.
आ चुका है पोको X5 Pro का बॉक्स टेबल पे. अब इसको जल्दी से करेंगे अनबॉक्स. ब्लैक और येलो कलर का ये बॉक्स है, जो ज्यादातर पोको के स्मार्टफोन पे आपको येलो कलर, जो इसका सिग्नेचर कलर है, वो दिखाई देगा. Sometimes it is really tricky to take the tapes off, so let me try it with my nails. One tape down successfully. गाइज, ये जो फीलिंग है ना अनबॉक्स करने वाली, ये काफी ही मजेदार लगती है. जब भी आप कोई नया गैजेट अनबॉक्स करते हैं तो मजा तो आता है. जैसे कि यहाँ देखेंगे, बॉक्स के पीछे की तरफ बहुत सारे डिटेल्स लिखे हैं, बॉक्स के बारे में फीचर्स लिखे हैं, वो दिखाएंगे और उसके बारे में बात करेंगे जब फोन हाथ में आ जाएगा. इनसाइड द बॉक्स यू गेट दिस लिटिल पेपर बॉक्स एज वेल, जिसमें ज्यादातर पेपर वर्क और प्रोटेक्टिव केस ही होता है. लाइक आई सेड, वही मिला है हमको. यहाँ पर एक छोटा सा मैनुअल टाइप है. यहाँ पर फोन को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए आपको मिलता है ट्रांसपेरेंट प्रोटेक्टिव केस, और साथ में सिम इजेक्टर टूल, विच इज वेरी बेसिक. अब मुझे बॉक्स के अंदर दिखाई दे रहा है हमारा डिवाइस, जिसके बारे में ये वीडियो बना रहे हैं. उफ, वेरी वाइब्रेंट एंड पेपी येलो कलर. Just like the box, the smartphone also boasts the combination of black or call it dark grey along with yellow. और कॉम्प्लीमेंटिंग डिजाइन आपको फ्रेम्स पर भी दिखेगा। जो कलर आपको यहाँ कैमरा मॉड्यूल पर दिख रहा है, पीछे ये जो पैच पर दिख रहा है, वही आपको उसी कलर का फ्रेम दिखाई देगा विद येलो एक्सेंट्स। वेट की बात करें तो अच्छा है, लाइट वेट है, और यहाँ पे जो येलो है दिस इज लिटिल बिट डल, नॉट एज वाइब्रेंट एज द बॉक्स और प्रॉपर येलो। वैसे तो मैट फिनिशिंग है, लेकिन ये जो कलर है इसके अंदर हल्का सा ग्लिटर आपको दिखाई देता है। फ्लैशी नहीं है, अच्छा है। इसको साइड में रखते हैं, अभी ऑन भी करेंगे और उसके बाद स्मार्टफोन के बारे में बात करेंगे। पहले देखते हैं और क्या आपको बॉक्स के अंदर दिखाई देगा। यू ऑल्सो गेट अ 67 वॉट चार्जिंग ब्रिक। आई रियली लाइक हाउ दे हैव रिटन 67 वॉट हियर। बहुत ही बढ़िया फॉन्ट लग रहा है, कुछ डिफरेंट देखने को मिला, वरना ज्यादातर यहाँ पर नॉर्मली लिख देते हैं 67 और 80। तो ये जो इसने हल्का सा छोटा सा अटेम्प्ट किया है विद द डिजाइन, आई रियली लाइक। साथ में आपको मिलता है टाइप सी केबल विद ऑरेंज एक्सेंट्स, जैसे कि आप यहाँ देख पा रहे होंगे। इसको भी साइड में रखते हैं एंड दैट्स इट, दैट्स ऑल यू गेट इनसाइड द बॉक्स। अब बात करते हैं स्मार्टफोन के बारे में, जरा मुझे इसे ऑन करने दीजिए। फोन को यहाँ पर सेटअप करना मैंने शुरू कर दिया है। जैसे कि आप देख पाएंगे दिस फोन रन्स ऑन MIUI 14। साथ इसको हम सेट करते रहेंगे और फोन के बारे में बात करते रहेंगे, बिकॉज यही तो सबसे ज्यादा बढ़िया पॉइंट होता है जब भी आप नया फोन सेटअप करते हैं, द फीलिंग ऑफ सेटिंग अप एंड शिफ्टिंग टू अ न्यू स्मार्टफोन। तो यहाँ पर इसको सेटअप कर रहे हैं। टिल द टाइम लेट मी टॉक अबाउट द डिस्प्ले। तो यहाँ पर आपको विद पोको X5 Pro मिलता है AMOLED डिस्प्ले विद द सपोर्ट ऑफ 120 Hz रिफ्रेश रेट। बेसिकली स्क्रोलिंग एनिमेशन शुड बी स्मूथ।
Good evening and welcome. You're watching the NewsHour agenda. I'm Padmaja Joshi. The entire day, of course, was overtaken by the results of the 3 states in the Northeast, and the analysis has thrown open some very interesting stories. It's clear what the results are. In Tripura, Meghalaya and Nagaland, all of them will have a NEDA government. Its vote share of the BJP has improved and its tally has also been healthy across these states. But the BJP will celebrate not just its win and the formation of governments in these 3 states, but also the signals and roadmap that these states have helped them solidify for 2024. How is that? Well, if there's one thing that this result has made clear is that the BJP is not an untouchable in the Northeast as was thought earlier. It is not only a Hindu and Hindi heartland party alone. The BJP made a gamble to go for the tribal vote in a massive way, and this gamble has paid off. So here is the formula that the Prime Minister has now readied for 2024. BJP has already what has been considered its traditional vote base, upper caste Hindus. But over time, the PM has pushed for a major addition with government schemes, Labharthis, and a concerted outreach. OBCs, who are a 40% chunk in the country. In addition to that are the Pasmanda Muslims, who make up another 11%. Now, this push that has come is for the tribal vote, a critical 8.9% across the country. And if anything, today's results have proven that this move to reach out to tribals has paid off. Consider this. Meghalaya has an 86.1% tribal population. Nagaland also has about the same at 86.5%. Tripura has a comparatively smaller but still significant 31.8% tribal population. The fact that the BJP has managed to do well in these 3 states will give it the assurance that it is able and acceptable to voters who in the past were considered extremely unlikely to vote for the BJP. And how has that been made possible? This strategy, in fact, today was outlined by the PM himself.
ये सिर्फ दिलों की दूरी समाप्त होने का ही नहीं, बल्कि ये नई सोच का प्रतिबिंब है। अब नॉर्थ ईस्ट न दिल्ली से दूर है और न ही दिल से दूर है। इन चुनावों में हमने कितना बड़ा परिवर्तन देखा है। भाजपा ने नॉर्थ ईस्ट की राजनीति की दिशा ही नहीं, उसकी दशा ही नहीं, लेकिन एक आत्मविश्वास से भरा हुआ और नई दिशा पर चल पड़ा हुआ नॉर्थ ईस्ट हम देख रहे हैं। चुनाव जीतने से भी ज्यादा मुझे इस बात का संतोष है कि प्रधानमंत्री के कार्यकाल में बार बार नॉर्थ ईस्ट जाकर के मैंने उनके दिलों को जीता है और वो मेरे लिए सबसे बड़ी जीत है। मुझे ये संतोष भी हुआ कि पूर्वोत्तर के लोगों को ये एहसास हो रहा है कि अब उनकी उपेक्षा नहीं होती। कुछ हमारे विशेष शुभचिंतक भी हैं। इन विशेष शुभचिंतक जिनके पेट में ये सोच करके दर्द होता है कि बीजेपी की जीत का राज क्या है। साथियों, मैं ज्यादा तो टीवी देख नहीं पाता हूं, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि शायद अब तक मैंने देखा नहीं है कि ईवीएम पर कोई गाली पड़नी शुरू हुई है कि नहीं हुई है।
Now, the strategy was very clear. The Prime Minister says the tyranny of distance has to end. The question, though, is do these results show that the strategy and increased footprint among newer voter blocks is going to be a formula that will help the BJP seal 300-plus target for 2024 as well? What was seen in the three states, can it be replicated across the country?
You're watching the News Hour at 10, debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining us now are Prachita Sarangi, MP and National Spokesperson of the BJP, Psephologist and Political Analyst Jay Mrug, Vivek Bansal, Leader of the Congress, Riju Datta, National Spokesperson of TMC, Kirip Chalahiya, former Congress Leader, Vivek Srivastava, Political Analyst. But my first question is to Editor-in-Chief of East Mojo, Karma Pajor. Do you think that the BJP has been successful in bridging what the Prime Minister said, Dil ki Duri?
Padmaja, I've told you this before also, that this bridging of the gap has certainly happened. And it is not just a rhetoric. It is not just something, that is said and forgotten. But there are visible changes on the ground. And visible changes, I'm not saying, because I'm not an editor who's sitting in Delhi. I'm an editor who's very much in the Northeast, and I am traveling around. I love to drive. I love drive everywhere across the Northeast. So visible changes are there. Just a few days back, I went to Tali, which is the last constituency which had no road connection since 1957-67, whenever that constituency was formed. So 16,000 odd people were living with no road connectivity for 50-60 years. And nothing was being done. Finally, there's a road. When we reached there, people were crying that, okay, wow, finally, a road has come. Visible changes are there. Travel from Guwahati to Dimapur. Before it used to take 7, 8, 9 hours. Now there's a highway. Most of it has been built. So visible changes are being seen. Consider ministers, from the center coming to the Northeast. I think about 400 visits have been made. The Prime Minister coming up and down. So this, cannot be denied, that the Prime Minister and the BJP is not reaching out. They are reaching out. They have done considerable work. So the groundwork is being done. Sometimes I'm baffled why so much attention? Now, because Northeast had not received so much attention. Everybody said tyranny of distance, which was quoted, by my former editor, and that tyranny of distance remained. But this tyranny of distance is being bridged. We have a brand new spanking airport in Itanagar now. Who could have thought that that airport could have been built in 2 or 3 years' time? They've made it possible. So it's visible changes, not just rhetoric.
So, Riju Datta, you can say all you want that this is marketing, this is rhetoric, this is Operation Lotus. The fact is, the man has put his money where his mouth is. And he's put his track record where his mouth is. Karma has told you of personal experience of how this Hira formula that JP Nadda today spoke about. Highway, internet, roads, airports is there on the ground. And people have accepted. This is the Modi formula.
Okay, first of all, I just want to start off by congratulating the two lady members of parliament, members of the Legislative Assembly from Nagaland. It's a historic day. All congratulations to them. I want to also express our deepest gratitude to the people of the beautiful state of Meghalaya for giving us 5 MLAs, and we remain committed to our cause and committed to work for them till the end. It's a tough road ahead, but we are ready to fight the battle. But Padmaja, I want to just take your attention completely out of the Northeast states to one particular bipole that has happened in Bengal, in Shagodiri, where Congress has won the seat after 51 years. But what I want to draw your attention to is that after Congress and CPM alliance have won the seat, the Congress state president of Bengal has said, thanks to BJP for helping us. So my Supremo has made a statement in the press conference, which is very important going into Lok Sabha in barely a year's time, is that the parties who say that they are ideologically different from BJP and who wants to fight the BJP but have a lane-deal policy with the BJP, Trinamool Congress will fight the upcoming Lok Sabha elections alone, and we will not have any discussions further with Congress or the CPIM.
Well, that is wonderful. I think you are only underlining the point that I was making earlier, that here is the BJP which has set itself a formula saying we are not going to go beyond this whole beef, culture, Northeast, separate cultural differences. We are going to tell them, listen, we are going to give you quality of living, and on the other hand, you cannot decide who's the B team of the BJP. Between the AIMIM, TMC, DMK, Congress, everyone is being calling each other B team of the BJP.
Padmaja, I will just say this. I will just make 2 points here.
You're just making work easier for the voters. The voters are like, here is a person who's saying bang on regardless. Here is this another block who's like, मैं तो सबका नेता हूँ, but मैं इसको B team बोलूँगा of the BJP. You're just making it very easy for the voter.
No. I'm just being very clear about it, because if I today say all the wrong things about BJP after they have won the elections in the Northeast, I will be insulting the people of the Northeast. That's number one.
You are insulting the intelligence of everyone by calling Congress B team of the BJP. I mean, every morning Mr. Gandhi wakes up and the first thing he says, Chokidar chore hai, and you are calling them B team of BJP.
Padmaja, can I tell you something? You please ask your reporters on ground in West Bengal. That is the Congress president's statement in front of the media. That is what is funny about. But I have only one pointed question at the BJP spokesperson and the Honorable MP here, is that we saw a tweet by Mr. Hemant Biswa Sarma that Mr. Congrad Sangma has called up Amit Shah ji for his blessings to form the government in Meghalaya. Very good. But my question to Aparajita ji is, NPP had 25 seats, UDP 11 seats. Both of them together crosses the magic figure of 31, BJP with 2 seats. Why that call to Amit Shah for his blessings to form the government? Or is it because before he made the call, he got a call from ED and CBI? So just clarify on that, that's all.
All right, sir, again, I do not want to get into this wrangling simply because we are putting out data and anecdotal evidence to show you that irrespective of how much you say ED, CBI, corruption, threat, etc., the fact is that people will not vote for you because of fear of ED and CBI. People will vote for you and are voting for the BJP for other reasons. And let's go across now with Jay to try and figure out if that is really happening. The Prime Minister today says that Northeast, that distance is getting over, Jay. Is it really? Is there any evidence from today's results to show us that? Let's take a look at the 3 state results. Over to you, Jay.
Absolutely. Now, look at this is Tripura for us. Okay. This is what it looked like in 2018, in 23. It's fascinating. We just picked up Dhanpur. Manik Sarkar's seat, okay? Pratima Bhaumik of the BJP
Former
has
chief
won.
minister.
Former chief minister, defeated by, you know, a young leader of the BJP, a lady. Yeah, she defeats Manik
Who first won the Lok Sabha, was brought back to fight the
elections. Now, what is most interesting here is that here across the state, the BJP is actually consolidated. It's IPFT that's taken the hit. It is a BJP that has consolidated. It's practically shielded itself from anti-incumbency. There's a marginal drop in vote share, a marginal drop in seat share. Yeah? So that's point number one in Tripura. Okay, it has also got a fair share of the tribal votes in Tripura. May not have got as many seats, but it's got a fair share of the tribal vote in Tripura. Similarly, even in Meghalaya, if you actually just, you know, if you can just load up Meghalaya, yeah. Now what happens here is, you see the BJP is, the seats are the same, but if you look at the vote shares, the leads that we saw in the morning, in about 7 to 8 seats across Meghalaya, the party has come second after the NPP, which means it has actually cornered a fair deal of the tribal vote. Even in the Garo Hills, the party has cornered tribal vote. That's the reason it was able to actually upset the NPP apple cart in many seats.
So you can safely say that at least not just anecdotal evidence, but data shows us the footprint is increasing, and which is why Vivek Bansal, when we had the Prime Minister earlier saying that there is a misconception, the BJP is anti-Christian, it's anti-tribal, that bluff is slowly being called. First listen in to what Mr. Modi said, then I'll come to you, Mr. Bansal.
साथियों, हमारे यहां बरसों तक माइनॉरिटीज को भी बीजेपी का डर दिखाया गया, देश विदेश में प्रोपेगेंडा चलाया गया, लेकिन अपप्रचार की इस झूठ की पोल गोवा के लोग खोलते रहे हैं। अब नॉर्थ ईस्ट के लोग भी इस झूठ की पोल खोलने में जुट गए हैं। नागालैंड और मेघालय में जहां बहुसंख्यक आबादी हमारे क्रिश्चियन भाई बहनों की है, वहां बीजेपी के लिए इतना जबरदस्त समर्थन लगातार बढ़ रहा है। वहीं नागालैंड में लगातार दूसरी बार हमें गठबंधन को आशीर्वाद मिला है। गोवा में भाजपा लगातार जीत पर जीत का रिकॉर्ड बना रही है।
How is that possible, Mr. Bansal? That bluff is called.
Well, there are two aspects to it. The result, first of all, has definitely belied all expectations, and contrary to what we were expecting or anticipating, the results have gone in the favor of, particularly in Tripura and Nagaland, in favor of BJP. As far as the Prime Minister's statement of that is anti-Christian or the policies of the BJP, which had been propagated or which is a factual thing, that has not been taken by the voters, Christian voters of Northeast. That appears to be in the voting pattern, it appears to be partially true. But the truth lies somewhere in between, because as you yourself said, that definitely development has taken place, and development has subsided or predominated or overtaken this communal angle or the anti-BJP, anti-Christian stance of BJP. So probably that has played in the minds of the voters.
That's wonderful, but what stopped the Congress from doing it all this while? The Congress is the one which was in government for years and years altogether.
That is really, Padmaja, that's really an issue or a subject which needs introspection, that where we went wrong, where we could not understand the temper of the voter or the mindset of the voter.
I think Kirip Chaliha will give a good insight into how the Congress failed to read the mind of the voter. Were they so engrossed in trying to flog the same old tropes? Christians cannot ever vote for the BJP. Tribals have to be wary of the BJP. Beef-eating population versus Hindu Nationalist Party. Kirip Chaliha.
You see, the BJP had this problem of identifying itself the Northeast
All right, we seem to have lost that. Would you like to take that question, Aparajita Sarangi? Okay, Aparajita Sarangi, go on. How do you bridge the gap?
I will start with a few words in Hindi, please allow me. कितने नादान थे ये शहर के सारे जुगनू, मिलकर कहते थे सूरज को उगने नहीं देंगे. And the fact remains that the sun has risen and the sun is shining brighter. Now, nothing succeeds like success. See, whatever we have achieved today, it's all the vindication of the efforts that have been put in these past 8 years by Prime Minister Modi and his entire team and Bharatiya Janata Party in these 3 northeastern states. We have really worked hard, and I think here is a party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, which goes to the people with its report card. Now tell me, which political party at this juncture in the country teaches the people's representatives of its own party to go to the people with a report card? I am told. I am a member of parliament from BJP, and I am told to go to the people with the report card. We have always acted east. It is Act East policy, and the Congress went for Look East policy. Now, please don't forget that the kind of thrust that we have put in on the development, the holistic development of the Northeast, in fact, has started in the times of Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji. Okay. During his time, the Ministry of Donor was formed. The Ministry of Northeast was formed. And can you believe, in the last 8 years, Prime Minister Modi has gone to the 8 northeastern states for more than 51 times. And every month to the remote areas of the Northeast, the ministers have been asked to go twice. So I think this is the kind of focus that we have put in the Northeast. And today Prime Minister rightly said, Delhi dil se dur nahi hai.
Vivek Srivastava.
Definitely. Yes, of course. We have bridged the gap through investments in infrastructure. We have tried to improve
you have to take a holistic
delivery. And there is a...
Okay, that is how the gap is bridged.
But you got only
and for a party that is always accused of playing identity politics and Hindutva politics, you should be lauding it.
It does. It does. No. It does play that politics. Who says it doesn't? Ask Aparajita Sarangi to say that yes, beef eating is all right across the nation. Will she say it?
But the whole point is you respect people's traditions and culture. Why should it be okay across the country? Where it's legal, it's legal. Where it's illegal, it's illegal. You respect people's eating habits and dietary habits.
Great. So Padmaja ji,
it doesn't have to be one size fit all.
अब बोलने दीजिए मैडम. अब आप कह रही हैं कि नॉर्थ ईस्ट तो वन साइड है, तो अगर मुसलमान खा रहा है काऊ बेल्ट में, उसके खिलाफ क्या प्रॉब्लम है?
कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है सर.
नॉर्थ ईस्ट में प्रॉब्लम
जहाँ पे लीगल है वहाँ पे लीगल है.
लेकिन यहाँ नॉर्थ इंडिया
हर कोई खा सकता है नॉर्थ ईस्ट में, क्योंकि वहाँ सबके लिए लीगल है. You are again missing the woods for the trees. Do you realize what you are saying right now is exactly the reason why you are not in government in Tripura? Because you are still stuck in a time warp. People are beyond caring for this yummy in Northeast, mummy in rest of India. This is a poor old joke. Nobody cares anymore, Mr. Srivastava.
It is very much there. No, it is not a poor old joke.
Nobody cares for yummy and mummy if I don't have electricity.
They have double standards across the nation. They have double standards. The BJP has double standards, different rules for different people. You know, opportunist according to the election. That is.
You know, I think people would care much more if somebody told them that the budget for Northeast for 2024-25 was 5,890 crores, and this is a raise, my friend, of 113% of the budget for Northeast in 2022-23. Mr. Srivastava, that affects my life much more than all the slogans you give on TV. Vivek Srivastava.
Madam, as a leftist, I am supposed to speak. I don't need your lecture. Let me speak. इतने बड़े आप लोग बातें कर रहे हैं नॉर्थ ईस्ट की. 2 सीट आई है मेघालय में और डंका ऐसे बजा रहे हो जैसे पता नहीं कौन सी बड़ी विजय हो गई. नागालैंड के अंदर 4थे, 5वें या 6ठे नंबर पे आए हैं और दिखा ऐसे रहे हैं प्रधानमंत्री का कौन सा मैजिक चल गया. 25 सीटें एनपीपी लेकर के आई है. दे अब्यूज कॉनराड सांगमा टाइम एंड अगेन.
and said he's a corrupt man, and he's so scared of the ED and the CBI that he's calling it and saying, you have 2 seats, but please come and let us form a government together. This is your development.
Okay, Aparajita
Yes,
Sarangi.
we did poorly as a party in left, I acknowledge.
I can very well understand the situation that Vivek ji is in today. It's absolute frustration which is actually making him speak like that. I respect his sentiments. Now the fact remains that we have really worked hard. We have gone to the people with our development agenda. You have heard our Amit Shah ji, our Prime Minister, and Nadda ji speaking in the rallies. We just talked about development and nothing else. See, if optical fiber coverage goes up by 4 times in these 8 years, what do you call it? We have gone for 150 Eklavya model schools in these areas, in Tripura, in Meghalaya, in Nagaland, and I think people of Northeast understand the Samvad of Prime Minister Modi.
Karma, is it that easy to say that, you know, the old anxieties are completely forgotten? UCC remains an issue, CAA remains an issue, tribal identity is still an issue. Is all of this subsumed by the development push, 1, and 2, the argument made by Vivek Srivastava that, listen, don't make it out to be some massive saffron sweep, it's at best good alliances. Karma.
Padmaja, I'm not getting your audio clearly if you're asking me a question.
Yes, my question to you is, first, is there any substance in saying that this is more hype about the BJP's performance because it's actually their allies who are doing better, point number 1. And point number 2, that ultimately the development, you know, mantra is good, but traditional anxieties about culture and identity will remain.
Okay, I'm just picking up some questions. I don't know, I'm sorry, but the audio is very... See, traditionally, we've spoken about this a number of times. Northeastern states will go to the party that is at the center, because of the host of reasons, because the states are small, we want to develop. Therefore, hence the tendency is always to go with a party at the center. So if the Congress is at the center, the entire Northeast will turn into a Congress supporting. But then the role, Padmaja, of the regional parties are very important. So in Meghalaya, NPP plays a very important role because, if you look at the population of these states, the confidence, the trust on the national parties is not so much because there's always a fear, and the local parties get away with this, saying that, your rights and privileges which you enjoy, your special status will be taken away if a Congress comes to power or if a national party comes to power. But despite that, in Meghalaya, we saw there was a Congress government in power. Nothing like that happened. Similarly, in Nagaland also, which is a tribal majority Christian state, there is also fear-mongering that takes place. Hence, always and historically, and it will be for future also, the local parties, regional parties will play a big role, which has been played by NDPP here. And BJP has got 12. But that said, do I not see development? I see development. Now, the biggest challenge, of course, for the BJP, since it's got 12 plus seats in Nagaland, will really be Nagaland, because Nagaland is where the root of problem. I had written an editorial saying, NDPP plus BJP will come to power, but this will not be because of good governance. Nagaland, there are issues. We sent a team to Eastern Nagaland, abject poverty, schools are in bad shape, healthcare is in shambles. There are a lot of issues. Now, all this is always, whenever a bad road is not repaired, whenever there is an infrastructure problem, it's very easy for everyone to point that there is an underground. There is still an unresolved peace process there. So very quickly, the attention is turned towards the peace process. The real challenge for the Prime Minister and the time that he's going to get, next 5 years, will be to see that the peace process is given some shape, because the status quo remains. And that status quo, I think, is advantageous to all the players right now. But the people on the ground are fed up. They want this status quo to go. The reason that the people have chosen NDPP and BJP plus this time around in Nagaland is because there is simply no option. There is no other party which can promise and which can deliver peace. I think the people of Nagaland, apart from the cash, which has played such a huge role in electoral politics, is also they've given the vote so that the peace process can reach a conclusion.
So whether it is the development in Meghalaya or Tripura or the peace in Nagaland, Riju Datta, at the end of the day, people of those states think that the BJP is best placed to give it to them.
See, I have some relevant pointers to make here. See, I am not going to say that BJP has not won the Northeast and they should not celebrate. They should very well celebrate. But we have seen incidents like the Mukro incident which happened very recently. The border issues are still not sorted. There are promises made. There are infrastructure changes that the BJP alliance government has done to the local issues. They have resolved those issues, infrastructure-wise. But there are other issues like the border issues or the special status issues.
You are right in all of that, Riju Datta, but here's the thing. The local population also realizes it. The border issues happened between Assam and other states. But despite these problems, the local population, the tribal population thinks that if there is one party that can address it, it is the BJP, supposedly considered an outsider. It's not like you didn't campaign in Meghalaya. Abhishek Banerjee went there, Mamta Banerjee went there.
Absolutely.
In Tripura, you pushed. You got Mukul Sangma in Meghalaya. In Tripura also you made a push, but Tripura you lost your deposit. Last time also you lost your deposit.
We have not received the blessings of people of Tripura. We need to respect and work very hard in Tripura. Said and done. Yes, agreed. But in Meghalaya and Nagaland specifically, I will only make one point. That when you are saying that the people of these states trust the BJP and trust the Prime Minister, I believe there is another narrative where the people of the states trust the local leadership of NDPP and NPP, where they think that their own people are their sons of the soil.
Okay, then why don't the NDPP and NPP trust you? The NDPP and NPP can trust TMC. Why are they trusting the BJP, a Hindu majoritarian party? Okay, go on.
It is very simple because
Riju Datta, I'll just put in a larger perspective what she's trying to say, and I'll also build a larger landscape for it. The point is, well, given the fact that the regional parties and leaders are the most trusted, but at the number 2 slot or at a fairly recollectable second slot, in all the 3 states, or at least in 2, and in third Tripura, it's quite the other way around, a national party that is the BJP is there as a second brand of recall. And an additional point to that the Congress, the oldest brand of recall, is nowhere to be seen. That's exactly the larger point she's
making. And here is a hypothesis. Optics matter. Let me give you a little bit of data. On the 11th of February, the Prime Minister addressed 2 rallies in Tripura. February 24, he addressed a rally in Nagaland and then addressed 2 rallies in Meghalaya. Meanwhile, on the 16th of February, Mr. Rahul Gandhi was in Gulmarg, and the pictures that we saw were not him attending a rally, but skiing in Gulmarg. Vivek Bansal, when you say we need to introspect on why people don't trust us, maybe these contrasting images could give you a clue.
Well, that's a very simple answer to what you are saying. Bringing pushing basically what Mr. Modi had been on a salvo of meetings he attended, and Mr. Rahul Gandhi was busy in the Bharat Jodo Yatra. That is there. Had he attended, had he
was not. February 16, Bharat Jodo was over. Like I said, he was in Gulmarg. He was skiing. Polling was to take place 11 days later.
I think he too has a right to, after a very strenuous and a never thinkable yatra, such a long and arduous yatra taken. I think if he takes a day off, definitely.
Sure. I'm sure. Yes, everyone, and that's perfectly fine. Everyone has the right to relax after a very strenuous yatra. We made the comparison between the rally and the skiing. Also today, when results are out, the Prime Minister, Amit Shah, Mr. Nadda are in the BJP headquarters, and the former Congress President is at Cambridge talking about the importance of a dialogue. I'm just going to leave it at that. If you were a voter, think of what these 2 pictures would do to you. Thanks very much, all gentlemen, and Aprachita Sarangi. for having joined me. The big news coming in right now is that the BJP has extended a letter of support to Conrad Sangma. So it's now absolutely clear that in Meghalaya also they are going to form a government together. Thanks very much for joining me on the debate. But let me also go across now to somebody who has a few things to say about why the Congress simply cannot get its act together in the rest of the country and more specifically in Tripura in the northeast. Pradyut Debbarma, thank you very much for speaking to me. First time contesting in assembly elections in Tripura, and yet you have become the second largest party. You've got almost a 20% vote share. Why has that happened?
I think this is the blessings of the people of Tripura, and we have worked very hard for it. And I'm quite surprised that so many people turned up in such large numbers and voted for us, because to be also the youngest party, we're just 2 years old, and this is our first elections that we are fighting, first assembly election that we are fighting, to be ahead of the Congress and the CPM, which have ruled the state for decades, is a sign that we have really worked hard and the people have bestowed their trust on us.
But who do you think you've dented the most, according to you? At whose cost has this performance been? The left, the Congress, or the IPFT?
I think IPFT had won 8 seats last time. They won just 1. So we have definitely won those 7 seats. There was a seat of the Deputy Chief Minister, which is BJP, which we won. We have not been able to defeat the communists. So we have actually dented the IPFT, the BJP, and in certain areas we have dented the Congress, because there were certain seats where the Congress had certain amount of sway, and we have defeated them as well.
So would you say now legitimately you can stake claim to being the party that is the voice of the tribals, that you've got the entire tribal vote behind you?
Padmaja, the Hindus, the tribals of Tripura are also largely Hindus, almost 85% of them. I myself am a Hindu, so I do believe that I speak for the Hindus and not against my religion. And the second thing is that, of course, we are the voice of the indigenous people in the ADC areas. We have won the district council election, and now out of 20 seats, we have won 13, and 1 has been won by IPFT, whose demand is also very similar to us. So basically 14 out of the 20 tribal seats have been won by regional parties. So obviously there is something which needs to be heard and addressed by the government of India and the state government.
But what about the Congress? Has it not managed to feel the pulse of people of the Northeast? At one point they were completely unchallenged. Now they have lost some of their best talent, and talent which, by the way, succeeds outside. From you in Tripura to Himanta in Assam to Mukul Sangma in Meghalaya, it seems that people who leave the Congress actually end up doing much better, sometimes much better than the Congress itself.
I think this is largely, even I was a congressman for 17, 18 years, and I was literally pushed out of the Congress party. And I think this is the problem, because the Congress party leadership, at least the AICC leaders who are appointed for Northeast, do not actually come and understand the region very well. I am saying this during my time. And what happened was that I saw an erosion of the regional leaders who spoke out strongly for the local politics, because the narrative for far too long was Delhi's voice over our voice, and that's where I think the Congress has largely suffered.
Okay, but would it have helped if Rahul Gandhi and Bharat Jodo Yatra would have travelled to the northeast instead of doing south to north? They could have instead done east to west.
No, I think Bharat Jodo Yatra is more to do with Rahul Gandhi's image rather than the party's organization. So even if the Bharat Jodo Yatra took place from, let's say, Pasighat to Porbandar, which they are planning now, I think it will only improve Rahul Gandhi's image as an individual. It will not help the party structure.
But did the Congress ever reach out to you, in the midst of their campaign or before that? What if now they come back and say, listen, we want to look at a revival in the Northeast, come back?
The Congress did try to reach out to me. I'm sure they did. But then I did say that why don't you speak on these core issues which are constitutional solutions. and then there was nothing. I heard nothing from the Congress party after that, and which was disappointing to say the least, because we were the only party in the Northeast which was neither aligned with the Congress or with the BJP. Yet the Congress were not very prompt in their outreach to us.
But what about the BJP? Would you be willing to do business with them? There is news that you've been speaking to Amit Shah. Would you do business with them again?
I don't do business with anyone, rather because I think politics should be a service and not business. I have other businesses which I can do, but not in politics. But yes, if the BJP is willing to talk about our constitutional solutions, to talk about the upliftment of the tribals, to talk about our autonomous areas, and to give us solutions so we can safeguard our future in the onslaught of the people who are living in Bangladesh coming over to our area, then we will be more than happy to listen to them and to talk to them.
In conclusion, what would you say about the BJP's performance in the Northeast, given that they have fought pretty much on the image of the Prime Minister and the slogan that he has given of cultures being respected, but also side by side there being development and infrastructure?
I think Modiji's visit in Tripura definitely helped BJP gain some traction, especially in the general areas. I do believe that his rally in Shillong, which was after the Tripura election, was one of the main reasons why BJP also had a surge in their vote share. And in Nagaland, again, I think they fought as a junior partner, but they did have Mr. Modi everywhere. So I've never met the Prime Minister, but from whatever I've heard of what he speaks about the Northeast, it would be very nice of him to invite all stakeholders from Northeast, those who may not subscribe to every point of view that he says, to meet him, so that we can also articulate our point of view. The narrative in this country has become us versus them. It is not necessarily us versus them. It is about us wanting to actually articulate what we want the government of India to hear.
Well, already the Prime
And I hope Mr. Modi, the Prime Minister of India, as the Prime Minister of India and not a leader of a political party, will invite us.
Well, the Prime Minister anyway said that Dil ki duri and Delhi ki duri should be reduced. Hopefully, this outreach of yours should be and may be reciprocated. Pradyut Dev Burma, thank you very much for speaking to us, and congratulations. Quite a spectacular performance by your party in its first outing in the assembly elections. This, of course, is just the beginning of the election cycle. 2024 is but a few months away. 1 year will pass by like this. Thanks very much for watching.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break.
mm एक्स्ट्रा, लंबा व्हील बेस, सेकेंड रो में ज्यादा जगह, यह है कहानी BMW 3GL की. Namaste Times Drive family, I'm Kranti Sambhav. Welcome to the first drive review of BMW 3 Series GL यानी Grand Limousine, जो obviously regular 3 Series से ज़्यादा लंबी है. व्हील बेस के हिसाब से कुछ एक चेंजेस इसमें हुए हैं, तो इस वजह से ये हम वीडियो कर रहे हैं उन चेंजेस के बारे में बताने के लिए, और ये भी जानने के लिए कि जो दावा है कंपनी का सेकेंड रो में ज़्यादा आराम का, ज़्यादा स्पेस का, वो दावा पूरा हो पा रहा है या नहीं. सो बिफोर आई स्टार्ट टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस कार, सबसे पहले टाइम्स ड्राइव के बारे में आपसे बात करता हूं या अपील करता हूं. अभी तक अगर आपने सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया है तो प्लीज सब्सक्राइब कीजिए हमारे चैनल को, और सोशल मीडिया पर बाकी जो भी हैंडल्स हैं वहां पर टाइम्स ड्राइव के नाम से आप सर्च करें, उसे भी फॉलो करें. लेटेस्ट खबरें आपको मिलेंगी, और timesdrive.in है हमारा वेबसाइट, वहां पर तो लेटेस्ट खबरों के अलावा डिस्काउंट्स और जो स्पाई पिक्स हैं, आने वाली गाड़ियां हैं, उन सब के बारे में खबरें मिलेंगी. तो लेट्स स्टार्ट दिस स्टोरी. हम बात करते हैं BMW 3GL की.
You're watching the News Hour at 10.
It was day 2 of demolition drive in Uttar Pradesh, and this time bulldozers were at the doors of Atiq Ahmed's arms supplier Safdar Ali. After BJP leaders hint at an impending encounter, Atiq Ahmed moves the Supreme Court to oppose him being shifted out of Ahmedabad jail to Uttar Pradesh in relation to the probe in murder of Pal. Supreme Court's landmark reform for Election Commission says the ECs to be appointed by a panel including Prime Minister, Leader of Opposition and Chief Justice of India in order to maintain purity of elections.
The News Hour at 10 will be right back after the break. You're watching the News Hour at 10.
Supreme Court has also formed a 5-member committee headed by former SC Judge Justice A.M. Sapre in Adani Rao. Panel will be submitting its report in 2 months. Amandeep Dhal, director of Brinco Sales, has been arrested by Enforcement Directorate in the alleged excise policy scam case. Speculations are rife that BJP veteran B.S. Yediyurappa could be appointed as campaign chief for the party in Karnataka ahead of assembly elections. After protests from Hindu groups over a video of a teacher in Bhopal offering namaz inside a classroom, principal of the school says she has been sent a notice. Congress MLA Jeetu Patwari has been suspended after BJP's motion against him. In a major crackdown on terror, NIA has attached the property of Al-Umar chief Muqtaq, an accomplice in the 1999 Kandahar hijacking. He was declared a designated terrorist in 2022.
आ चुका है पोको X5 Pro का बॉक्स टेबल पे। अब इसको जल्दी से करेंगे अनबॉक्स। ब्लैक और येलो कलर का ये बॉक्स है, जो ज्यादातर पोको के स्मार्टफोन पे आपको येलो कलर, जो इसका सिग्नेचर कलर है, वो दिखाई देगा। Sometimes it is really tricky to take the tapes off, so let me try it with my nails. One tape down successfully. गाइज, ये जो फीलिंग है ना अनबॉक्स करने वाली, ये काफी ही मजेदार लगती है। जब भी आप कोई नया गैजेट अनबॉक्स करते हैं तो मजा तो आता है। जैसे कि यहाँ देखेंगे, बॉक्स के पीछे की तरफ बहुत सारे डिटेल्स लिखे हैं, बॉक्स के बारे में फीचर्स लिखे हैं, वो दिखाएंगे और उसके बारे में बात करेंगे जब फोन हाथ में आ जाएगा। इनसाइड द बॉक्स यू गेट दिस लिटिल पेपर बॉक्स एज वेल, जिसमें ज्यादातर पेपर वर्क और प्रोटेक्टिव केस ही होता है। लाइक आई सेड, वही मिला है हमको। यहाँ पर एक छोटा सा मैनुअल टाइप है। यहाँ पर फोन पे को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए आपको मिलता है ट्रांसपेरेंट प्रोटेक्टिव केस, और साथ में सिम इजेक्टर टूल विच इज वेरी बेसिक। अब मुझे बॉक्स के अंदर दिखाई दे रहा है हमारा डिवाइस, जिसके बारे में ये वीडियो बना रहे हैं। उफ, वेरी वाइब्रेंट एंड पेपी येलो कलर। Just like the box, the smartphone also boasts the combination of black, or call it dark gray, along with yellow. और कॉम्प्लीमेंटिंग डिजाइन आपको फ्रेम्स पर भी दिखेगा। जो कलर आपको यहाँ कैमरा मॉड्यूल पर दिख रहा है, पीछे ये जो पैच पर दिख रहा है, वही आपको उसी कलर का फ्रेम दिखाई देगा विद येलो एक्सेंट्स। वेट की बात करें तो अच्छा है, लाइट वेट है। और यहाँ पे जो येलो है, दिस इज लिटिल बिट डल, नॉट एज वाइब्रेंट एज द बॉक्स और प्रॉपर येलो। वैसे तो मैट फिनिशिंग है, लेकिन ये जो कलर है, इसके अंदर हल्का सा ग्लिटर आपको दिखाई देता है। फ्लैशी नहीं है, अच्छा है। इसको साइड में रखते हैं, अभी ऑन भी करेंगे और उसके बाद स्मार्टफोन के बारे में बात करेंगे। पहले देखते हैं और क्या आपको बॉक्स के अंदर दिखाई देगा। यू ऑल्सो गेट अ 67 वॉट चार्जिंग ब्रिक। I really liked how they have written 67 watt here. बहुत ही बढ़िया फॉन्ट लग रहा है, कुछ डिफरेंट देखने को मिला, वरना ज्यादातर यहाँ पर नॉर्मली लिख देते हैं 67 और 80। तो ये जो इसने हल्का सा छोटा सा अटेम्प्ट किया है विद द डिजाइन, आई रियली लाइक। साथ में आपको मिलता है टाइप सी केबल विद ऑरेंज एक्सेंट्स, जैसे कि आप यहाँ देख पा रहे होंगे। इसको भी साइड में रखते हैं। And that's it. That's all you get inside the box. अब बात करते हैं स्मार्टफोन के बारे में। जरा मुझे इसे ऑन करने दीजिए। फोन को यहाँ पर सेटअप करना मैंने शुरू कर दिया है। जैसे कि आप देख पाएंगे, दिस फोन रन्स ऑन MIUI 14। साथ इसको हम सेट करते रहेंगे और फोन के बारे में बात करते रहेंगे, बिकॉज यही तो सबसे ज्यादा बढ़िया पॉइंट होता है जब भी आप नया फोन सेटअप करते हैं, द फीलिंग ऑफ सेटिंग अप एंड शिफ्टिंग टू अ न्यू स्मार्टफोन। तो यहाँ पर इसको सेटअप कर रहे हैं। टिल द टाइम लेट मी टॉक अबाउट द डिस्प्ले। तो यहाँ पर आपको विद पोको X5 Pro मिलता है AMOLED डिस्प्ले with the support of 120 Hz refresh rate. Basically, scrolling, animations should be smoother क्योंकि 120 Hz अब ज़्यादातर phones पे standard भी हो गया है. There was a time when 90 Hz used to be the standard refresh rate, but 120 अब ज़्यादातर phones पे आपको दिखाई देगा. इसके अलावा दिस डिस्प्ले इज प्रोटेक्टेड विद Corning Gorilla Glass 5. तो आपको इतना टेंशन लेने की ज़रूरत नहीं है कि डिस्प्ले को कुछ हो जाएगा, ऐसा नहीं होगा. द फोन इज ऑल्सो ऑफरिंग IP53 रेटिंग टू प्रिवेंट ऑल दी डस्ट एज वेल एज वाटर स्प्लैशेस. यहाँ पर और जैसे कि डिस्प्ले पे आपको दिख रहा होगा, बेजल्स आर प्रिटी थिन. इनफैक्ट यहाँ पर चारों साइड पे मुझे सेम बेजल्स दिखाई दे रहे हैं, मतलब मेजरमेंट उनका, और थिन भी लग रहा है. यहाँ पे वाइट बैकग्राउंड पे देखेंगे तो आई थिंक इसका जो व्यूइंग एक्सपीरियंस है दैट शुड ऐड टू इट बिकॉज ऑफ द थिन बेजल्स. और सामने आपको यहाँ पर दिख रहा होगा पंच होल कैमरा. दिस इज अ 16 मेगापिक्सल फ्रंट शूटर टू क्लिक ऑल द वाइब्रेंट सेल्फीज एज वेल एज मेक वीडियो ब्लॉग्स. कैमरास की यहाँ पे बात की है तो एक बार आपको पीछे वाले कैमरास के बारे में भी बता देते हैं. रेक्टेंगुलर कैमरा मॉड्यूल आपको यहाँ दिखाई देगा. इसको कॉम्प्लीमेंट करने के लिए थोड़ा सा ब्लैक पैच यहाँ पे स्ट्रेच किया गया है. नाउ दिस कैमरा मॉड्यूल हाउसेस 3 कैमराज इन टोटल. द मेन कैमरा इज 108 मेगापिक्सल शूटर. उसी के साथ आपको मिलता है अल्ट्रा वाइड लेंस एज वेल एज मैक्रो लेंस फॉर ऑल द मैक्रो फोटोग्राफर लवर्स. अब बात करते हैं थोड़ी सी डिजाइन की. रेयर पैनल के बारे में हम बात कर चुके हैं. फ्रेम की बात करें तो राइट साइड पे आपको मिलता है वॉल्यूम रॉकर. उसी के नीचे येलो एक्सेंट में आपको मिलता है पावर बटन. दिस पावर बटन ऑल्सो एक्ट्स एज अ फिंगरप्रिंट स्कैनर. वो कितना फास्ट है ये आपको रिव्यू वीडियो में बताएंगे. बॉटम की बात करें तो आपको मिलता है सिम ट्रे, टाइप सी पोर्ट एंड स्पीकर. एवरीथिंग इज इन ब्लैक गाइज, सो आई डोंट नो कि वीडियो में कितना दिखाई दे रहा होगा. फ्रेम ब्लैक है और सारे के सारे जो पोर्ट्स हैं वो भी ब्लैक हैं. तो आई रियली होप आपको दिख रहा होगा. लेफ्ट साइड ऑफ द फ्रेम इज प्रिटी नीट. ओह माय गॉड, नाउ दिस स्मार्टफोन एक्चुअली गेट्स सम ब्राउनी पॉइंट्स क्योंकि ऑन द टॉप यू ऑल्सो गेट अ 3.5 mm हेडफोन जैक. सो दिस स्मार्टफोन इज एक्चुअली अ मिड रेंजर और इस प्राइस पर आपको इतनी चीजें मिलना इज एक्चुअली a good thing. So basically the phone fetches brownie points for the 3.5 mm headphone jack. अब एक बार चलते हैं सेटिंग्स की ओर और देखते हैं कि फोन में और क्या क्या है. सेटिंग्स में हम आ चुके हैं. एक बार देखते हैं फोन के बारे में. जैसे कि हम बता चुके हैं, सॉफ्टवेयर की बात करें तो दिस फोन रन्स ऑन MIUI 14 बेस्ड ऑन Android 12. तो ये आपको मिलता है इस स्मार्टफोन के साथ. अब बैटरी की बात की जाए तो दिस स्मार्टफोन comes with 5000 mAh battery capacity and like I showed you the adapter, this also supports 67 watt fast charging technology. जाते जाते एक और चीज बता दूं that this newly launched X5 Pro comes with the support of Dolby Vision as well as Dolby Atmos. स्टेरियो स्पीकर्स का सपोर्ट इसमें आपको मिलता है. तो गेमिंग एक्सपीरियंस और while watching content, this should actually be really good on this smartphone, but this will get to know in a full review video. जैसे कि आप देख पा रहे हैं यहाँ पे ईयरबड्स के काफी सारे फीचर्स ऑलरेडी मेंशन्ड हैं. यू गेट ट्रांसलूसेंट जेली केस, 13.4 mm लार्ज ड्राइवर्स, एनको मास्टर साउंड इफेक्ट्स, AI डीप नॉइस कैंसिलेशन फॉर कॉल्स, लॉन्ग बैटरी लाइफ, binaural low latency with Bluetooth 5.3 transmission. तो ये सारी चीजें इसके बारे में हैं. थोड़ा सा इसका डिजाइन ऐसा लगने वाला है, अनबॉक्स करके पता चलेगा एग्जैक्टली कैसा दिखेगा. राइट साइड पे यहाँ पर कंपनी ने कुछ चीजें लिखी हुई हैं. अब निकालते हैं इस ईयरबड्स को डब्बे से बाहर. वो ओके, काफी स्लिपरी सा मुझे लगा बिकॉज ऑफ द प्लास्टिक कवर, बट ऐसा नहीं है. यहाँ पे अच्छी ग्रिप बन पा रही है, काफी लाइट वेट भी दिख रहा है। एंड एक्चुअली जैसे बॉक्स पे मेंशन था, दिस इज अ ट्रांसलूसेंट केस, मैंने तो फर्स्ट टाइम देखा है, लुक्स रियली नाइस। मजा सा आ रहा है इसको देखने में नॉट रियली बट अच्छा लग रहा है। यहाँ पीछे की तरफ ओप्पो ने ब्रांडिंग अपने ओप्पो एनको की हुई है, बहुत छोटा सा यहाँ पर स्टिकर है, काफी प्यारा सा इसका लुक है, सामने ओप्पो लिखा हुआ है। अब इसको एक सेकेंड गाइस, काफी अलग सा शेप और डिजाइन है, अच्छा लग रहा है देखने में। और यहाँ पे आपको मिलता है कुछ ऐसा लुक विद द न्यू ओप्पो एनको एयर 3। दिस वन इज इन वाइट कलर ऑप्शन और काफी ही यहाँ पर अगर आप देखेंगे जैसे केस पर है ना नीचे ट्रांसलूसेंट इफेक्ट, यहाँ पे भी स्टॉक खत्म होने के बाद आपको हल्का सा प्लास्टिक क्रिस्टल टाइप इफेक्ट यहाँ पे दिख रहा है, काफी नया और मिनिमलिस्ट तो नहीं है बट डिस्टिंक्टिव है। आई रियली लाइक्ड इट, बहुत अच्छा सा लुक ही इसको दे रहा है, देखने में अच्छा लग रहा है। बट पर्सनली देखो गाइज, यहाँ पे ना आपको ठीक से ये डिजाइन दिखेगा, ये वाला। हाँ, सो व्हाट आई वाज सेइंग इज पर्सनली आई रियली प्रेफर द ईयरबड्स दैट कम विद कैनल ईयर टिप्स, मुझे वो ज्यादा कंफर्टेबल लगते हैं। बट ऐसा नहीं है कि ये अनकंफर्टेबल होगा, ये भी अच्छा होगा। बाकी एक्चुअल में इसका यूसेज कैसा है वो चीजें हमको यूज करने के बाद पता चलेंगी। सो यू गाइज नीड टू स्टे ट्यून टू गैजेट टाइम्स, जैसे कि मैं हमेशा बोलती हूँ। इसके फुल रिव्यू के लिए बॉक्स में आपको ये मैनुअल गाइड भी मिलता है, सेफ्टी गाइड या मैनुअल गाइड विच विल टेल यू अबाउट द प्रोडक्ट इवन मोर। सेटअप कैसे करना है आप इसके थ्रू देख सकते हैं। यहाँ पे जेस्चर्स मेंशन है कि कितनी बार टैप करने से क्या एक्टिवेट होगा, तो इसको एक बार पढ़ लीजिएगा। लेफ्ट साइड और राइट साइड के जेस्चर्स यहाँ पे मेंशन है। वॉल्यूम डाउन अप करने के लिए आपको क्या दबाना है वो यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है। सो ये था इसका ओवरऑल लुक। ड्राइवर्स का साइज आपको बता चुके हैं 13.4 mm, काफी बड़ा साइज है, यूज करने के बाद पता चलेगा कि कैसा दिखने वाला है। सो या
For decision makers, for the opinionated, for the unsure, for dinner time debaters, from metro stations to living rooms.
We present the facts and help India make a judgment. From stories that shake the nation to opinions that shape them, I delve deep into the biggest news of the day and uncover every fact, every source, and every statement through debate and discussion. Get a 360-degree perspective on every story and get a